Are you ready? Can Crushers. It don't really get no better than this the podcast that you're looking for if you're really heavy into wrestling. Hosted by the Mark. Energy that's so amazing. Gotta keep it entertaining. Rep the Can Crusher Nation. Yeah, you know what's going down in the ring. Lights out when you hit a ding ding. Knock 'em out like boom bada bing. Hold it down, you can crown me the king. Got a shout out to the Miz and Duke the Dumpster. We choke slamming everybody. Power driving, hit 'em with a face buster. Yeah, this the show you need and it ain't no need for waiting. Mark, hold it down for the Can Crusher Nation. All about wrestling and keep it entertaining. Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast. Time to break 'em, let's go. Yeah, Can Crushers. Yeah, Can Crushers. Let's go.
Hey, this is Mariah May, the glamour, but you knew that. And you're listening to Can Crushers.
Welcome to the greatest recap and prediction wrestling show in the entirety, whatever, of professional wrestling. That's why it's the greatest. Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast. That's Sir Michael Jenks. I'm Mark the Mark, and we are ready. Jakes, we have Ask Can Crushers that we love each year. We have recap shows. We have the weekly shows of us just bantering and everything. But this ends up being one of our favorites by far because sometimes we're on the same page. Sometimes we look like idiots. And most of the times when we do our review of predictions from a year ago, we know nothing about professional wrestling. Hi.
Absolutely. Hi. We learned very quickly that what we think we know changes very quickly, and sometimes it's at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
Or, in Punk's case, could be at a drop of a towel, if you watched the clip from last night where he made the save in a towel and a shower cap.
I did. Overseas?
They might be, no, it was New York today. They were in Madison Square Garden on Thursday night doing their holiday tour, so he had wrestled early in the night.
They're in Pittsburgh on Friday. I know that.
Oh, yeah.
I have friends of friends going, too. They're like, can you come? I'm like, nah, I can't.
You're a busy guy. The Voice has returned to high school basketball.
It's a holiday tournament. It's kind of my favorite. Besides this in the playoffs, like I won't miss either, maybe because I'm a self-conscious son of a bitch. But nobody around here can do 8 games in 2 days, essentially. So they call
amazing. That's what makes you the amazing Mark Martinez. You may be Mark the Mark on this show, but you're the amazing Mark Martinez in the Bridgeway area.
Well, it's bigger than just Bridgeway, but come on.
Bridgeway, St. Mary's, I was giving a general
county.
The Elk County.
Clearfield County.
Yeah, it's good.
The west side of Pennsylvania.
West central side of Pennsylvania.
Right. It's on the interwebs as well, like us. Sir Michael Jenks, I'd be remiss. How was your Christmas, my friend?
Christmas was good, busy, lots of family time, which you can't complain about. So, obviously, Christmas Eve with my family, a lot of kids hooing and hollering and all that jazz and screaming. Christmas Day with Kimberly's family, no kids whatsoever, so a lot of quiet time, a lot of beating her brother in NCAA Football 2012.
Wow!
So he has the PS4, Xbox 360. He got a PS5 for Christmas. So while that he's been rebuilding UAB and all that. So while that downloaded, he's like, hey, do you just want to play? Absolutely.
Old school
football, which I'm a ringer at. That game I played until it literally broke on my 360. And then I had to spend $40 to get the 2013 version a couple years ago just so I had an NCAA football game. But beat him. I beat him as – who did I beat him as? Boise State was one of the big ones. He was in Washington during a snow game. I was down, I think, like 17. Came back and beat him. Then beat him as Akron, and he was San Jose State. There's one other game that I beat him as well, And yeah, he wasn't too thrilled about it, but
Nice.
Sometimes when you play the master, it just happens.
Yeah, master class.
The master class. But it was a great holiday, great time with family, friends, and all that. I got a sweet WrestleMania shirt now with Ultimate Warrior and all the legends on it. So loving that right now. But how was your holiday, Mark?
Slow and okay. It was okay. We woke up. Ethan and Max did Christmas and kind of took a nap before we went to Grandma's house.
Nice.
Partaked at Grandma's house for a couple hours and went to another friend's house for about an hour and a half. Didn't know, first and foremost, anytime there's a meal, I eat like an idiot. You know that. So I gorged myself on ham and potatoes and this and that at Grandma's house. My buddy that we go to wrestling shows with, Nick, shout him out, said, hey, come on over. I'm like, okay, yeah, just to see the family and the kids because they're on the garbage route and we love seeing them. He had prime rib.
Oh.
He's also a Christmas birthday baby.
Okay.
So it's a combination. So he's like, I hope you save some room. I'm like, I just ate at Grandma's. Well, we have prime rib. You can't say no to prime rib.
You can't turn that down.
So his wife gives me a side of beef, not just a piece of prime rib. Prime rib that they got, by the way, was like 15 pounds. They had a lot of people over, but 15 pounds of prime rib is a lot.
That is a ton. That is a ton.
So I don't know what she gave me. I would think it was probably 2 pounds. I ate it. I didn't eat anything else at his house besides prime ribs. No, like, red potatoes or anything like that. I just looked like a heathen there. And as I was leaving, there's scraps. She's like, well, you need to take some of this prime rib home to Max.
Mm.
I walk in the door, this Ziploc baggie of scraps, and he knows instant. He must have smelled it from the couple blocks away. He comes running and just sticks his nose in my hoodie pocket because I had hoodie on, and he's like just rattling around. He's good. He's a good, but he was just like, there's something in there for me. I smell it. Give it to me. I gave him a little piece because he ate a lot of junk that dogs shouldn't eat on a regular basis.
Right.
Not that it was bad for him, but he had some ham, potatoes, yada, yada, yeah. He took that piece of prime rib, and he was just like, my night's fucking complete, too. So it was good. Not as crazy hustle bustle, but have a couple other places to go here over the weekend prior to basketball, yada, 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 to knock off to say, hey, I was there. But it was low-key, and it was okay. It was okay.
That's good. At least if it was okay, that's what makes it good. Right. Everybody enjoyed the holiday?
My two boys right here were happy. If anybody saw pictures on, Facebooks of just my account, we did get Miggy back prior to Christmas, so that was really awesome that he made it home for the holidays as well. So he was in the picture with us.
That's good. That's very good.
That's what made
right where he needed. Yeah, right where he needed to be.
Yeah. So I did when they send them back. By the way, not going down more, but the urn, it's kind of, but whatever. You're getting Miggy back.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I ordered this monumental thing that's going to be in the house for him now because he rightly deserves it.
He does deserve it. They did here in Erie. They do kind of that too, where it's just like, here it is. Here's a nice little box. For the most part, I will say, Savannah, when she passed, we got a pretty nice box from them. They were very nice about it and all that. So it was very classy in that regard. So sometimes you just got to order what's right.
It's based, engraved on. Oh yeah. But it's going to take like a month and a half because it's made out of, I don't know if it's pewter or whatever I ordered, but it's spared no expense. I'll just put it that way.
That's good. As you shouldn't.
So yeah, I mean that's a recap of us for Christmas.
Holidays. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a good week. We had family time. That's it.
I will say this, pull the curtain down. I haven't found a minute to watch. Good thing it is Crushies. I haven't found a minute to watch wrestling this week because of stuff, other games. Listen, the college bowls have been on since November, essentially, and I just watched. I watched Pitt play for 17 hours yesterday, almost, and lose.
To Toledo, nonetheless. I was genuinely shocked.
Disappointed?
Yeah, I mean, I was disappointed too. But 7 overtimes is just brutal way to lose, especially when you go up 10 late in the game.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
It was on and off for them, though. They were down by 8.
That was their season. That was
First half great. Second half, woof.
Woof. An injury. Many injuries hurt them. But
yeah.
Listen, August is right around the corner. Spring game coming up April-ish. So, yeah, I'm already looking forward to that. I did play a little NCAA as well. And I finished my road to whatever, my sophomore year, whatever the hell it's called, Glory or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
I'm in the national championship game with Notre Dame right now, and I'm already getting ready to hit the transfer portal to go anywhere.
Wherever.
I am going to go to 4 different places and win a national championship at each place.
Now, what are you? What position are you?
I'm a quarterback.
Quarterback. See, that's the problem. I chose running back the first time around because I'm like, I'm just getting into it was when we first got the game. So I'm like, I'm just getting into it. I haven't nailed down the quarterback position yet. Let me play running back. I get taken out 50% of the time, even though I'm the starter. I get not a lot of snaps. I break off a big run. I'm out for 12 plays for some reason. I don't know what the hell's going on. There's too much rest. Not enough time. And it hurts us. I don't know. I've gone to 3 different schools, Army, North Carolina, and Oregon, and just not liking it.
I'm going to, after I get done with this one, I am going to switch to a position that I'm normally not, like a wide out or a tight end or something to see whatever.
Yeah.
And really start Coastal Carolina or someplace.
Bottom barrel, yeah.
Skills, and if I can't hone my skills, I deserve to be there.
Right. No, absolutely. I mean, I dominated everywhere it was, but it just, playing time, I can't help the team if I'm on the bench, so. Touche. All right, so this is our big show, end of the year. Horrible transition. It works. We have not got those down in 8 seasons, essentially. There's going to be things that we're weak on, some things that we have strengths in. So,
right? Transitions are
ways are not good for us.
Yeah. End of season 8. The next episode will be season 9. Over 600 episodes. Thank you. We'll say this again at the end of the show, but thank you. Once again, we honor the wrestlers that have passed in the year. I have a list, and I'm sure I've missed some. I'm sure there's some indie stars that I've missed, or maybe somebody overseas or anybody. But I'll run through the list, maybe speak of a couple bigs that we really want to talk about. But here's a list that I have. Ole Anderson, Virgil, Afa, Sika, Aki Bono, Kevin Sullivan, Sid Vicious Justice, Yoshi, Paul Vachon, Ray Sr., Chris Markoff, Ice Train, Anthony Gaines, and Ashi. And just yesterday, as of recording, Can Crusher alum, Jack Stain.
Mm-hmm. That one was totally came out of nowhere yesterday with that one, but
yeah. He had a heart attack. Apparently, was well kept, I guess. Had a heart attack in late November, and Jack's passed complications because of that. And I'll start with him because I've had the opportunity to have a beer with Jax or hang out with him at OVW, or he's been on the show. A great friend of Chad Miller, that a great, previous owner of OVW. Jax and I have talked even non-wrestling stuff. When I say that this man, and not to promote just to get listens or anything, but go back in the archives and listen to his interview. We talk a lot about, it was right after my mom passed. We talked about his mom passing and so on and so forth. Throw wrestling out when you're talking to Jax real quick, because he is an amazing human being. He was an amazing human being for just everything. When I say his heart is as big as this world, it really is. He didn't know me for shit, and instantly, through words of other people talking, he came up and gave me hugs and the family hugs and everything when we were down in OVW when it was rough time for me. Awesome. Kicking back around to wrestling, unbelievable guy that should have been WWE/AEW or whatever. He kind of did some TNA stuff, a lot of OVW stuff, went to NWA, tag team champion, did a lot. Amazing match with Tim Storm for the heavyweight championship and everything. Jax was a powerhouse and just awesome. Just awesome, but I don't care what he did in the ring. It was more what he did for me during rough times with Mom. So that one was rough when I read that yesterday.
Yeah, and you hear a lot of the stories coming out now today about how big of a heart he had and all of that. From your experience, obviously, it hits a little bit home, but just seeing the outpouring of wrestlers that live and work with him on a day-to-day, week-to-week, year-to-year basis, he was universally loved. And that is a presence that is irreplaceable in the locker room and one that's irreplaceable in fans' minds, hearts, and all of that. He had a big spirit, and he carried forward the best he could. In-ring wise, he did a lot. He did a lot across OVW and WA, like you said. Man was everywhere, and it's unfortunate that he was lost at a really young age, to be honest. So it's terrible to see any wrestler go, but when you start talking in your 40s, 30s, it's really sad to see.
It is. Ole Anderson, we have to mention him because what he did for professional wrestling. Maybe not in the ring, it was my era. I loved him and Arn doing things, but his booking was unbelievable. As much of we don't know this, and it's probably not the right time to say this, a bastard backstage or whatever. What he did for booking was unbelievable. NWA was so hot in the Crockett promotions when he was doing stuff.
Yep. But I think that's one of the underrated moments of his life was the booking aspect of it. People know he booked phenomenal shows left and right, but he was a great talent in the ring as well. From teaming with the Andersons, the brothers going after it, the Four Horsemen, the original incarnation of it. Ole was a presence, unrelenting. Early 90s WCW too. He was popping around. He was always around. It was sad to see that he had passed, but the legacy he leaves behind, just a part of the legendary Anderson family, we'll call it that right now, is undeniable.
Speaking of legacy, you keep these together. The bloodline, essentially, Alpha and Sika with the Wild Samoans. My God. Tag team wrestling savants. That's a big word for Can Crushers, but I don't know how it popped into my mind. But
I like it.
Tag team wrestler savants, and just what they've meant to the bloodline that we know today, but wrestling bloodline.
Oh, God, yeah. Wrestling bloodline, the storylines that they produced, anything of that nature. God, even the graduates that they had from their academy. It's a who's who in professional wrestling. So it's one of those things where you see, holy shit, you don't understand the impact they've had. You see the bloodline, you see the on-paper impact, But it's things that come after that just stand out. Like your Orndorff, your Junkyard Dog, Yokozuna, Batista. All of these people came through here. Obviously Yokozuna because he's related, but all of these people came through here and left a legacy in the industry. That's very much unstated. So the bloodline runs thick in terms of the actual blood and family in that. But the bloodline runs even deeper when you look at all of those tributaries and that, if you will, going off of river speak here.
Wow, we're smart today.
Yeah, I know, right? They're running off through these other people that have gone through their school and trained at some point in time.
Kevin Sullivan, again, from the work he did as a wrestler to, again, booking, even when it was rough WCW, he did. Listen, I'll say this, and again, because we love having some fun over everything. The worst thing Kevin Sullivan ever did was the Dungeon of Doom.
100%.
Him as the brainchild behind it was great. Just the other players weren't players, essentially.
Yeah. When you're playing with people that are not either on your level or not willing to be at least raise themselves up on that level, it's hard. It is hard to get something off the ground. Also, the hokiness around it didn't help it whatsoever for it to be taken seriously. But Kevin Sullivan was always the one. I've told you this. I've said it here on Can Crushers. Trading tapes, it was usually WCW tapes for the mid to early 90s from my side of the house. So I would see like your Slamborees or your Halloween Havoc when it became the Dungeon of Doom and that, and seeing Kevin Sullivan and Cactus Jack versus the Nasty Boys was one match that's been ingrained in my mind in a Broad Street Bully street fight. He was legendary in that regard. And then to see him pop up, I think it was earlier this year in a Karrion Kross vignette, where he was playing the father, the priest in it, sent chills down the spine because it's like, oh my God, can we get Kevin Sullivan back? That is the role. I'll go on the soapbox now. That would have been perfect instead of Paul Ellering in this phase.
Yeah.
But it's sad to have seen him leave.
There's many to mention, and I'll give you, but I know that we're both going to go to this one, and then I'll let you, out of this list, pick whoever you want to talk about as well. Man, Virgil was my childhood. Yeah. He really was, being the lackey of the $1 Million Man, and him, listen, when I think of the $1 Million Man right off the bat, I do think of Virgil, and then I think of Virgil kicking the ball out of that poor child trying to dribble it. To meeting Virgil years later in a gymnasium 7 miles down the road, taking pictures with like me and my best friends, to seeing him really pandering at Comic-Cons. But if you would sit and talk to him, the man was a genius. He knew what he was doing. He'd sit outside to make more money than people inside, and he didn't have to pay for a table. I know we mock him for that. He just did what he needed to do. Wrestling was in his business and was in his life and everything. And again, we mock him a little bit because of the tactics, but he was a good wrestler too.
Yeah. He was a very good wrestler. His tactics worked. And in wrestling, if it works, that's all it needs. If it gets fan reaction, whether it's good, bad, ugly, then it's fine. It succeeded. His tactics work. Him screaming about meat sauce on Instagram versus setting up tables outside Comic-Cons, people went. People went and saw him. People engaged. His content was engaged with. That's what's important in professional wrestling. He understood that. Great, good hand in the ring, did great with the $1 Million Man and winning the title and all that. He knew what he had to do, and he knew what role he played in not even just that time period he was in, but the history of professional wrestling.
Yeah. Do you have any that stand out as well? I'm sure there is. Do you have any that stand out as well that you want to?
I think overall, from everybody that's passed away this year, it's reaffirms that the childhood is memories now. It's not, it further cements and makes it surreal and probably more likely real that the childhood has passed and we're living on memories and we're going forward. and to also enjoy life. Because with everything that we've seen, enjoy life, the takeaway should be every day is a new day and a new chance to do more, be better, or to love somebody even further. And if you take that opportunity and you see it through that lens, you're going to live a pretty fulfilling life. And I think that's the important thing to take away from it.
I will say this, and this is a good transition. Again, we don't do anything to plan anything. Ruby Devlin started the year off last year on our spotlights saying, just love yourself and live life. Essentially, it was her big thing.
Yeah.
All the way fast forward to the end of the year, ups and downs, pits and highs. That's what I've taken away. This list of professional wrestlers, and Jack Dane is the one that, for me, I mean, I love all the guys, but Jack Dane's the tough one for me to swallow this year.
Yeah.
Essentially the same age as me, months different. Ruby said, "Live it." I tried. Jax is like, "Mark, here it is. Get your head out of your ass and go." That's been my 2024. Getting myself to 2025. So thank you for teaching me a lesson this year. Thank you for saying what you just said, because that's what needs to happen.
Yeah. You all take life with a grain of salt, move forward, and be yourself. Because we want you around. We want everybody around.
Right.
So do your best for what's good for you.
We'll raise our glasses. Yeah, we'll raise our glasses. I have coffee because I have a long day. Jenks is drinking the bubbly already.
Yeah,
it's wrestlers that have passed this year. We love you and thank you for everything.
It's really great sparkling apple grape juice, by the way. Martinelli's, good job.
It's bubbly.
It's bubbly. I would say it is gold medal worthy. So.
Oh. All right, on that note, we'll take a quick break because we know what you're waiting for. You're waiting for the Crushies, and we're waiting to give them to you because we have a list of categories and our probably ridiculous nominations that we put out ourselves. So we'll be right back.
This is the hardcore icon, Just Incredible, and you're listening to Can Crushers Podcast. Now, that's not just the coolest, and that's not just the best Can Crushers Podcast. Well, that, my friends, is just incredible.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the 2024 Crushies. That's Sir Michael Jenks. I'm Mark the Mark, and we're going to toss a little bit of curveball right now because I got thrown out during the break, and it's okay. It's okay.
Hey, you know, we had a touching subject to end segment 1. It didn't feel right to end it doing sponsors that we have for our show because I think we needed to just let that break happen for everybody listening and whatnot. So we'll do sponsors now. We'll make the compromise. How's that?
Then we'll get into the categories. So Let's go full-fledged since it's a big show. Ready?
Yeah, whenever you are.
Are you ready?
No. Are you ready? All right.
Collar and Elbow, hats, hoodies, tees, all the cool stuff that Al Snow and the Hooligans have down at Collar and Elbow. Make sure you go and buy it up. Recently, they had some new merch put out. Check them out. Awesome tees, more sweats out there that you can buy. Buy it all up at collarandelbowwrestlingbrand.com. And I believe we have a promo code for them, right, Jenks?
Yeah, it's Can Crush. You save yourself 10% off any purchase you make at collarandelbow.com. Also, we have a shop, WWE Shop affiliate code. If you're looking for that, it's in the show notes. You might not get a discount, but if you click on the link, it helps support us. So use it when you buy your next WWE merchandise.
Don't forget, it won't be here by Christmas, by the way. Oh, no, it would be here. If you use that promo code right now.
It'll be here for next Christmas.
It will be.
Unless something catastrophic happens.
Right, unless something bad happens. Don't forget we have our own merch as well over at CrowdMade. Type in CrowdMade in your search bar. Then when you're at the site for CrowdMade, type in Can Crushers. You'll see our hoodies, our tees, our tanks, cool stuff like that. Rep your favorite podcast. And by the way, prior two categories, we have our 2024 breakdown and our last year predictions. It went bad.
It didn't go well.
When you're going anywhere wanting to hang out with professional wrestling crew, rep us, the Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast, by looking at CrowdMade.
Exactly. I will say I bought some for Kimberly for Christmas. She loves it. Nice pink tank top.
Kimberly need to be in our new picture coming soon?
Potentially. We'll see if we can get her to model, so we'll let you know.
We'll get better views probably if Kimberly.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's very true. Instead of looking at our ugly mugs. Anyways, if you do want to feel pretty and you want to buy something new, maybe a hoodie or something, Buy Bracket is one of our newer sponsors. They have joined us here, and you can buy hoodies from, your religious side to your football side to any side you can think of. They have hoodies, tanks, tees, cups, whatever it be. I believe that one is 15% off as well if you use your code, Can Crusher code. So Go ahead and buy Bracket.
15% off using Can Crushers or by clicking the link in the description as well.
Exactly.
Jenks, we are everywhere, I believe, right? Like,
yes.
At nauseum, people will be like, all right, we don't need a 15-minute segment of where you're at.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
But let's do it no. Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, we're on Netflix pretty soon. I'm kidding about that one, but we're everywhere.
That's a deal for us.
Probably $6 million, I would think.
Yeah, we'd be quitting our day jobs, I think, at that point if we made it to Netflix. But Instantly.
Guys, go out and listen everywhere. Give us reviews on any site that you can. It only helps continue to bring us up, which is awesome because, Jenks, when I tell you what happened this year, but we'll get there.
I can't wait. Speaking of instantly, you can also follow us on any social media platform and instantly give us your feedback, opinions, love us, hate us, whatever it may be. We're on Facebook. We're on the X. We're on Instagram. We have a Threads in that cesspool, but, we don't use it that often. But we're out there.
We use it every week because it posts from the other one.
Yeah, that's fair. It does. Whether we go on it actually or not, it still posts from the other ones. So go ahead, follow us on social media. You can DM us, tell us how much you love or hate us. Just follow us and give us your live reactions to the show.
Don't forget, we always have an Ask Can Crusher. Be prepared. Somebody's just walking in the door real soon. That's what we do here on Can Crushers. People just come in and out of the house. I heard the door close and the dog's going to bark in 3, 2, 1. Don't forget, we have an Ask Can Crushers coming up again real soon because it's that time.
Yeah.
It's probably a month away, right? By the end of January.
It was by the end of January. We're going to have another Ask Can Crushers. You got to get the questions in. Get them here. Get them now. Submit them. You can do it one of two ways. We already mentioned the DMs, whatever. Or you can call us, 814-299-6687 or cancrusher69@gmail.com. Either way, ask us some questions so we can have a hell of a show for you guys.
We love that show, too. So join us. Be part of Can Crusher Nation. We love it. All right, you ready? Let's do it. Let's do the podcast kind of recap first before we make fun of ourselves, okay?
Love it.
So the wrap for the year, okay? And this has broken it down a little bit more this year, and I like it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we have our most listened spotlight of the year, okay?
Okay.
And these are close. These are effing close. Brand new spotlight of the year. Slam and Sammy got the most listens, followed by D.L. Hartley Part 1.
Okay.
16 vote difference.
Really?
Not vote, but listens. Difference.
Wow.
Right? We have a new city that is number 1.
Oh.
In the United States.
In the U.S., okay.
I'll leave it at that. Davidson, North Carolina is taking the number 1 spot from Council Bluffs.
Wow. North Carolina.
With that.
Yeah, exactly. North Kakalaki coming in strong. I believe, I could be wrong on this, so Davidson, you can correct me. This is where Davidson University would be.
I would imagine, right?
Yeah. It is.
Is it on Tobacco Row, down by Raleigh and everything? This is why Jenks is here, too. I have all these in my notes, so I can't pull up anything on the computer right now.
Yeah, I don't see it near Tobacco Road. It is just north of Charlotte. So,
okay.
We're in the
Queen. So I'm going to have with that this year.
Yeah, we're just outside the Queen City.
Right.
And I will say almost, just south of 77, I-77 and 40 that would take you to Asheville, North Carolina. So
nipping in at number 2, okay? A couple percentage points different. Aberdeen, Texas.
Oh, Aberdeen, Texas. Okay.
Yeah. That's a big one. Yeah, that
is a big one.
That's close to WCCW territory.
Yeah, it is. And I'm trying to think. I think there's a school down there, and I can't think of what school is there.
Abilene. Abilene. Is that what you typed in? I'm an idiot.
No. Spell that again then.
Abilene.
Abilene. Okay. Yeah, I typed in the wrong one.
And this is why people listen too, because
we're idiots and trying to figure this
shit about.
I did place in my geography B back in grade school, but it's not working out here. Abilene is pretty decent size. I will say Abilene. Okay. Oh, just outside of Fort Worth in Dallas, probably maybe an hour away from there.
Yeah, so it's WCCW.
Yeah,
territory.
It's right in that territory. Absolutely.
So welcome aboard. I mean, they've been on the list probably, but
if you heard
Council Bluffs probably got mad at me.
They might have. How much we were. I don't know why they would. It happens. This is also just down the road from Sweetwater, so
Barry Windham territory.
Exactly, Barry Windham territory. So
internationally.
Here we go.
Number 1. Reigning, defending, Toronto stays with us.
We don't need
Toronto.
Toronto doing it. I don't need geography to know where that's at. Toronto, good job on that.
In its second, a little bit of a distance behind, was Bavaria, Germany.
Bavaria.
Yeah.
Do you want to spell that?
Bavaria.
Bava? Oh, Bavaria. Oh, yeah, Bavarian. Okay.
I'm thinking Jackie Go did a lot there for us.
Potentially, I think you're right on that. Yep. Bavaria, just near Austria, just on the border of Austria, and I think it touches Switzerland maybe a little bit more.
Oh, probably Cesaro then too helped us out.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect.
Yeah.
And Gunther. Yeah.
Gunther.
We got Gunther on this, yeah.
The spotlight, this is a cool one that they've been over a year old, but they have grown mega this year.
Okay.
Coming in at number 2, only 4 votes listens. I always say votes. Only 4 listens behind was Mariah May.
Really?
Spotlight of Mariah May. I think I've pumped the hell out of that.
You have. People had to listen to it.
Right.
I like that. All right.
Number 1, though, our Pittsburgh gal, Nikita Knight, / Thea Hale.
You pumped the hell out of that, too.
I did tell you. Not that I've just said it enough. That people were like, oh, my God, these 2 amazing women were on this shit show? What is wrong with them?
They had to find them.
Yeah.
Well, Thea wasn't that long ago. Was she last year? Or
year and a half.
Yeah. I was going to say, it was recent. It was after I joined the podcast that you did that one.
Yeah.
With Thea.
Mariah was definitely like 3 years.
3 years. Yeah, I was going to say it's way longer.
1.2 in some change listens this year. guys, this is real talk. Thank you. This is still from when I started the podcast, and I got told if this only runs, after spending money for everything, if this runs 12 episodes and you spent this much, I'm going to kill you. To never imagining 1.2 and some change million listens each and every year.
My God.
Fucking love you guys.
That's amazing.
This is a true shit show of guys either drinking and just rambling about wrestling, but you continue to come back.
Yeah. And wanting this chaos that we do on a week-to-week basis. Thank you, guys. We love you. 1.2 million listens.
Which means it's 21% growth. Jenks.
Damn.
Companies are clamoring for that.
They are.
In this podcast
has done it.
Not mostly on Friday nights after long days of work, drinking heavily.
It's the way to unwind.
I'm really touched by that, so thank you.
I am too. Thank you, guys. Man, I wish I really had champagne to pop for that.
I wish I could drink heavily right now. I can't.
You got to be good. You have to be good. I don't have to be good technically.
So again, next week when we're here, starting season 9. Again, unbelievable that we're starting season 9. Listen again, that's over 600 episodes. The numbers, and I'm going to be boastful. The numbers don't drop even when something happens. Listen, we had a rough end of this year. It gets put up. The numbers are there. Like, I know people are out there going, where the hell are they? What's going on? I don't know if they just care about our lives or what's going on, or they actually really like professional wrestling, because our demographic is very much split. It is like 65% men, but, you have that 35% women in there, and it's from kids to adults.
Yeah.
Thank you. I thank you.
From the bottom of our hearts. Yeah. Bottom of both our hearts. Because I would have never thought when Mark asked me to come on 3 years ago that 1.2 million views was coming. Listens, whatever it was. And, when I joined Mark, it was more about, hey, I get to reconnect with an old friend. We can talk wrestling. We can have some fun while we do it, right? But, man, you guys are blowing us away that you want to listen to us talk and reconnect and BS about wrestling.
Football is what they really want to.
Yeah, they want the NCAA football recap. Yeah, the video game recap is what you guys come for. You leave after the first segment. We get it, but we appreciate it. We sprinkle it in throughout, too, so listen to the whole episode since you're there. I'm just saying.
Right. Yeah, sometimes we'll just bring up, Coastal Carolina again and talk about them for 5 seconds. Again, you guys, I beating a dead horse, thank you. But now it's time why you're really here for this show. So the softball is up to you. I want you to pick the first category, Sir Michael Jenks.
First category. All right. Are we doing bold predictions? Recapping them? Oh, I thought we were recapping.
Shit. Yeah, bold predictions.
Yeah, see, okay, pick that first category. There we go.
Okay, so I have Jenks. We both had 5. We'll run through Jenks's list. Okay? Jenks's number 1, I think these are in order, whatever. The AEW women will be the best women's roster out there.
They've made a case, but it was not good enough of a case. I don't think this year. It lacked this year.
It did. And I think there was some injuries involved and just some signings that still haven't panned out.
Yeah, struggling more or less with that, but unfortunately.
Number 2 for Jenks, Roman, Seth, and Mox will not sniff any world championships.
I mean, Mox did get the world championship off of Danielson, which makes sense because Danielson was retiring, had to give it to somebody. Seth has been in the picture.
But it was late. It was late.
Seth's been in the picture but hasn't gotten the title. Roman obviously hasn't gotten the title. So
it's a win.
It's a win. I'll take the win on that.
Which is the song? 2 out of 3 ain't bad?
2 out of 3 ain't bad. Hey, I won 2 out of 3 falls match there. So
you did.
I'm saying.
This is the one that Jenks was steadfast on. Seth and Becky are gone. I was too, though.
I thought they'd pull the trigger there. Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah. Another one, Monet/Sasha will be back in WWE. The signs were there, though.
I think the signs are still there.
Oh, yeah. She's blatantly said it.
Said it, yeah. That is what it is. I'm surprised that she pulled that trigger.
And his number 5 was a funny one. In circumstances, I would be the most corrupt commissioner in the game. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I would have.
Go for it.
I would have been. My number 1, steadfast on it, was Roman was not losing at Mania.
Yeah,
the whole Hogan number was right there, and they wanted to erase Hogan.
It took a fucking army of legends.
It did.
It took an army to take him down. Just
still wrong though.
Yeah.
Number 2, I got right though, Jenks. Number 2, I got right. WWE works with other companies.
You did. You got that right.
I didn't think it could be TNA though. Because my next one down the line has. Go ahead.
Yeah, but you hit that one right on the head, and it started early. It started May-ish because it's when Joe Hendry got really popular in that. I mean, we saw Grace in the Rumble in that, but it was just a slow progression after that.
They allowed Shinsuke to go to Japan too.
They did.
We kind of forget about that, but yeah. AEW has a figurehead finally, and shit gets right. Shit's not right now, so I was wrong. There's no figurehead.
The figurehead that they have is overbooked.
Yeah. And too much on X.
Yeah, 100%.
My next one was TNA NWA will work together. Scott D'Amore will be in charge, and Corrigan is gone. Yeah, well, Scott D'Amore's gone. Corrigan's still at NWA, and they haven't looked at each other.
Yeah. And Scott D'Amore started his own wrestling federation.
Right. And then my number 5 was a ton of randomness of AJ Lee's going to be back, Seth and Becky are going to be gone, Andrade back to WWE to be with Charlotte.
Got that.
Drew and Sheamus, AEW. Didn't get that. LA Knight gets a mid-card title.
Got it.
Got that. AEW gets Selena Vega. Didn't happen. And then Tessa's in AEW. Didn't get that, but she's back.
She's back in TNA. So
right.
you got that at least. It's not bad. Not bad of randomness there.
We weren't horrible, but we've had better years. We've had better years.
I will say this. I have not had better years. I feel like last year might have been my best year so far.
Okay.
I don't think my predictions have been that great, but
well, we'll recap this again next year then. Not that.
Yeah, we'll find out. We'll find out with prediction. Yeah. Yep. We'll see.
Just to let you know, I went stupider. So I'm going bold this year.
There's reaches here, but then there's also some that we both think the writing's on the wall, so it's more of a prediction, or a guarantee, like a spoiler, instead of a bold prediction. But
all right, since you picked that because I effed that up, I will go to one that was kind of hard for us, but is also I don't know if there's many, Jenks.
Yeah.
I'm going to go best tag match. Listen, in segment 3, by the way, you're going to get Wrestler of the Year, Female Wrestler of the Year, our bold predictions, the ones like, we're going to do some, not the stupid ones, but ones that we might have struggled on this year.
Yeah.
Which leads to me best tag match of the year, Jenks.
It wasn't a good year for tag team wrestling.
Across the board, it was not a good year for tag team wrestling.
Yeah.
You have 3?
I have 3, yeah.
I as well have 3.
All right. How do you want to do this? You want to go 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and then winner?
Well, 3, 2, 1, with our number 1 being
the winner. Got it.
I would say the BCC and FTR at Revolution for number 3 for me.
Okay. I would say I went at number 3, Rhodes Roman versus the Bloodline at Bad Blood was my number 3 this year. It was the storyline that drove that one.
And we've already went different ways. I went match, you're going storyline.
So I flipped the storyline drove one, match is driving another, and I think my winner is a combination of both.
Okay. My number 2 is Bucks versus BCC. It was in the cage, right?
Yeah.
I forget where. I know that happened. I just forget. Was that it?
That was. Was it a cage or was it? Where was that at? That wasn't Blood and Guts.
No,
that was. Yeah, I don't know where that was at.
Okay.
I know which one you're talking about. My number 2, Bucks and FTR at Dynasty in the ladder match, the tag team ladder match. That I think was great. Plus, you had Jack Perry coming back to AEW, helping the Bucks win the ladder match to get the AEW tag titles.
Well, that was my number 1.
Oh, fair enough.
That was my number 1. So
my number 1, I think, made a combination of atmosphere, storyline, and chaos that the match was. I went Backlash France, Bloodline versus Orton and KO in the street fight. Crowd singing Orton in, singing KO in, whatever you want to call it. The immediate chaos that ensued as soon as the match started, getting flipped to a street fight. Tonga Loa ends up joining the Bloodline at the event, missing a spot but joining the thing anyways. It was a combination of things, and that was the one tag team match that I had the most fun watching this year, and it could be because it was heavily influenced by the fans.
Probably.
But, yeah.
I will say this, and this is where tag team wrestling was this year. No shot on Jenks, but
yeah.
Notice a lot of yours are 2 solo wrestlers against the tag team. My mind went, all right, I'm going to try to stick completely with tag teams. That's why I had to force feed, nothing against them, but FTR in this, or because they didn't have a great year.
No.
The Bucks in this, da-da-da-da-da. And
when we go ahead.
No. I don't want to ruin another category.
That's fair. When I looked at this year compared to last year, there's such drop off in tag team wrestling. You know, I'm looking at my
1,000%.
My 2023 best matches, the 2 out of 3 falls match with FTR and BC Gold. That was my favorite match. Usos and KO and Sammy and Usos versus the Bloodline. There was story there. There was great action there. There was a lot of excitement there. This year, that tag team aspect just did not hit. And it just didn't feel like it carried over into 2024.
Yeah. Tag team wrestling across the board was just, people are coming, well, Indies had great, we understand. We're doing, big.
We're
doing big. That, listen, there might have been a great indie tag team match in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Yeah.
But
we haven't seen it.
We haven't seen it. So, all right, there you go. Tag team match of the year. What do you got?
Well, let's stick with the theme. Tag team of the year. Let's get this over with, because we both struggled with this too, and I think we should just group this together.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
this was, again, we don't want to keep knocking tag team, but this was a stretch to get 3 tag teams, and I didn't go Jenks's way of Cody and Roman or this and that, because I'm like, it was a one-off. I didn't want to give them a one-offs.
And, I gave the one-offs for the tag match, but if we're talking straight tag teams of the year, I did pull myself back into an actual tag team format here. So, I'll start with my number 3, and I'm going to go the BCC/Death Riders, because they've changed their name, obviously, over the course of the year. Consistent throughout the year. They've been threatening. They're trios tag champs now. They are a unit and have been a unit for the consistently. They fought for the tag titles throughout the year.
They have. Thought about them, but there was ebbs and flows with them that I didn't like. So my number 3 is the Young Bucks. They've at least been consistent.
Yeah.
Storyline was rough, but they've at least been consistent.
That was my number 2. They were consistent. They carried it forward. It wasn't a great storyline. We gave it time to nurture and develop, but it just didn't pan out. I don't think the Elite panned out. The way the Elites wanted it to pan out, it didn't pan out.
I think Kenny's injury being longer really
delayed it because I think they had the end goal, but it had to push out further for him.
My number 2, the Outrunners. They had a great fucking year. Win-loss record, throw it out, but they have gotten the fans over. We've already pushed for them to get the titles at least once. Yeah. The Outrunners had a great year.
They did. I think for the Outrunners, I love everything about them. I just couldn't put them on the list because of that win-loss record and that. They're slowly getting over that hump, so maybe next year, tag team of the year contender for me. But my number 1, I had to give it to this.
Was that your number 2? Oh, the Bucks were your number 2.
Bucks were your number 2, yeah. My number 1, I thought about this long and hard because I could not tell you. I couldn't put the Bucks number 1. I couldn't put BCC, the Outrunners, whatever. I looked to NXT to pull it out for this. Traxium has carried NXT. And we've said on the show we don't watch NXT as religiously as probably we should. But Traxium has produced some solid matches over the year, and they're worth checking out, even if it's a one-shot match you watch off of NXT. They've carried it. Their drama between the team that they have going on now is something to watch, and it gives hope for the next year for tag team wrestling in WWE. So I go Traxium at number 1.
100%. I have nothing more to add to that.
There you go.
There you go.
All right.
How about we do another one that I struggled with?
Okay. What do you got?
Best promo of the year.
Okay. All right. I like that.
I want to hear your number 3 first.
Oh, you want me to go first? Okay.
Yeah.
My number 3, there's a lot of good work out there. I will say hindsight doesn't do well to the promo because I don't think this individual has carried what he wanted to forward since this promo. But when MJF returned, it did light a fire under, I think, some's asses. And coming back, getting the tattoo of AEW on his ankle, really trying to empower himself, I think it gave us all hope for AEW in that regard, in the moment, circumstances afterwards, not taken within in account for that.
Mine goes to, and this is the only one that I'm generic on, but mine goes to, in this category, I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Kevin Owens as a whole.
I like
he's
that.
so good, but we forget because there is MJFs. There is some of the others that we're going to talk about. Kevin is just so good at some of his stuff. The one that resonates with me is kind of when, and I don't remember if it made real TV or if I saw it on a stream or whatever, right around when his mom was sick.
Yeah.
That one hit home. So I kind of watched a lot of Kevin after that. He's a great talker. He just gets, and I hate to say it, he gets lost in the shuffle on talking because his talks aren't about a storyline that we want him in, or he just rambles sometime like I do.
Yeah.
But if you would give him away, I think he could carry a lot.
I think he's done a lot for WWE this year, and he has carried the subplot to the Bloodline storyline up until this point because everybody else that would be involved with it was doing their own thing and infighting and all that between Punk and Drew and whatnot. Now we're seeing Seth and Drew kind of weave back into the Bloodline plot a little bit. Kevin Owens has done his best to hold that line steady and carry forward, whether it was as a face with Cody and Randy, or now I still say he's on a face path here because Cody has betrayed him. Randy betrayed him. Kevin still owns that thing. I can't disagree with that. Kevin as a whole has been outstanding as a character.
Nice.
My number 2, I picked the Hangman, but I picked his promo for the Owen Hart tournament right before he fought Danielson. He's in the hallway. He's bloodied. He's just screaming visceral at the camera, just upset and angry. That passion, that desire, that anger, you could visibly feel it through the camera. It's a fantastic promo of the year.
I knew we'd get something together on this.
Yeah.
I was bouncing back and forth because I have like 1A, 1B, maybe it drops off, maybe it doesn't resonate months after. Like, I almost put Copeland's April 4th one on this list.
Yeah.
I had to give Kevin props. So Copeland dropped off my list because, but it was Hanger. Number 2, Hangman, this whole crazy ass thing was good to great. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Your number 1?
My number 1. Recent development, recent addition to this list. Kofi and Xavier turning on Big E was by far took the year for me. I loved Hanger. I love every promo he's done this year. But when I talk about gut-wrenching, gut punch, and actual made me feel things moments, this one had me just gone. It hurt. Big E's expression to being so disappointed and really upset by it. Kofi and Xavier flipping the script on everybody thinking they were going to turn on each other, and in fact they teamed up to be furthermore as one.
Which I love New Day again now.
I do love New Day again. I think it just reinvigorated what they were trying to do with this, and that whole build-up into this. Chef's kiss.
Good point. Mine goes all the way back, and I kind of had a feeling when it happened that I'm like, this is going to be rough for me, because there was emotions. There was, holy shit, what's going to go on? Is this going to be the summer of Punk and Cody? I thought it was going that way. This is from Raw 1600.
Yeah.
Cody and Punk's just right now. I just got the tingles talking about it again. I thought, holy shit, they're going to let Punk go a little bit crazy. They reeled him back. They definitely reeled him back this year, plus he left and da-da-da-da for a while. But this was just, it was legacy for me in this. So I'm like, I couldn't get away from it all year. Watching a couple this week, and I'm like, I could go back and watch this to see if it still feels. And I got the feels.
It never goes away, because WWE has definitely blended that line of, okay, this is what you think you want. This is what you're going to get. Right. And it has become one of the things that it was a great promo at the time, because it felt like it was setting up the after WrestleMania burn. And that's probably why I'll say this, Cody's title reign felt flat a little bit at times, because it was supposed to be very Punk heavy.
Yeah. And
it just felt down, and it did not reach where it should have reached at that point.
I think they should have stuck and stayed. But there was
not that you can't do anything.
Difficulties.
Yeah, 100%.
What do you got next?
I want to go, let's do Return of the Year, because we talked about this too. It was a rough year for returns. There was definitely, in my opinion, 3 stood out. Obviously, Mark picked 3. But overall, it wasn't, again, 2023, I think, took over this category. We had a ton, and one of the bigger ones was Punk returning to WWE. When you compare you're comparing apples to grapes at this point, because there's nothing that really happened that transcended things here. So let's go Return of the Year, I think.
My number 3 is because he's been on the show 75 times. He stepped away from wrestling for a while. I go very indie on this one, but I know he's listening, so shout out to marvelous Matt Bish for making his way back to indies after retiring for a little bit of time, stepping away, getting shit straight for him. I want to make sure that he gets his props. He also got his hair cut by Brutus the Barber Beefcake on his birthday, one point. So
that's a win. That is a hell of a birthday present.
He's been on the show a lot. Go back and listen to the spotlights. He's got great stories.
And great hair now. So
yeah.
On your definition of that. My number 3, again, before we knew everything that would come after the Bloodline stuff, The Rock returning the first Monday Night Raw in the new year when he basically called out Roman and set the internet on fire. That return, that was big. They fooled us with Jinder, then they pulled out The Rock. It was a big moment because it set the course for the next 3 months, and that build could not be replicated whatsoever. So I got to give it to Rock. I got to give Rock his return, if you will.
My number 2 is a tie because of what I'm projecting for this year.
Okay.
One was really great because we love the vignettes. The other one was prior on a pre-show, but I think they're headed for unbelievable things, both of them. So mine's kind of a little bit of Goes to Julia Hart and Jamie Hayter.
That's fair.
What they have done in 2024, not so much.
Yeah.
But the build-up, I think, that we're going to see in 2025, especially for one of them, and you know it's all about Julia on my end, but I think we're going to see great things. To see the vignettes for Julia was awesome. But she returns, and she didn't have anybody, but once it was pinpointed at Jamie Hayter, then I'm like, okay. On my returns, I didn't go, I'm going to lie, number 1 was already spoken, essentially. I'll do my both. My number 1 was Rock as well. Just that return with Jinder. It's the biggest one for me. Randy was there. Randy took a couple months off. Seth was, like, they weren't returns this year for me. You know, the Copeland, the Danielson, the this, the that.
Yeah.
Nothing big. That's why my returns was really a struggle this year. So there's mine.
My number 1 is, I have to acknowledge it, the OTC returning at SummerSlam and costing Solo. That, you can't replicate that pop, that circumstance. What we got after that, the Bloodline saga continues. It's pulling on one of those threads that we said they have years of meat to pick off the bone. This is one of the pieces of meat that they've picked off the bone. Roman returning at SummerSlam changed the game for WWE in the latter half of the year. So I think that alone gets it at number 1 spot.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. Did I do my number 2? I don't think I did my number 2 because you skipped to, I went to 1. My number 2 was MJF returning at Forbidden Door. That should have closed that Adam Cole storyline, but it didn't. But yeah, MJF returning.
I love that we're different this year. I think I kind of went that way, and you probably you were hitting all of everything. And across the board, we've been ups and downs, which I like. Right. We're giving everybody shout outs. Let's do dad moment of the year. Is it my turn to pick?
It's your turn to pick. Yeah.
All right.
I will admit,
I only have 2.
You had 2, so why don't you do your number 2, because I only had 1, because there was only one special enough for me to pick that dad moment of the year.
Okay.
So you do number 2.
This was really close. That's why there's only 2.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think, for me. This was really close. I love, as much as I knock on him each and every week that I don't want to see him on TV that much, Jay Briscoe and family at the anniversary was my number 2. It meant a lot. I got the feels, but my number 1, I think, just took me to the feels even more. So this was all about feeling.
Yeah, this is Mark Briscoe was my number 1.
Yeah,
in his family. Yeah, so that was my number 1. So go. What is your number 1 here?
Danielson's in the kids in Bree there and wins the title and he brings them all in.
Oh,
and I went wrestling storyline heavy on this one, but yeah, Danielson and just looking at the kids the whole match, that he was going to fail. Yeah.
Yeah, it played into it a lot.
It did.
All right.
Next.
Okay.
We're wrestling through some of these.
Yeah, we're going all over the place. All right, we did tag team, we did that. Let's go. Okay, let's do random shit from 2024. I think we need to do random shit.
All right, go ahead. You run. Wow, because this was created for one thing for me.
My number 2 or number 3, sorry, is Jey Uso yeeting his way away from a Wyatt 6 attack. They came after Gable, and for some reason he felt the need to just yeet and then get out of there. Just yeet out, don't yeet, but that was just some random shit that I thought, okay, Jay, okay.
Okay, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is actually, again, this is a storyline, part of a storyline that we've already referenced a little bit. The airing of the All In footage.
Yeah.
Why?
It didn't work out like they wanted it to.
It didn't work out at all.
No.
And I don't know if they thought they were being geniuses and saying, oh, we're proven right, and that makes us even more evil, yada, yada, yada. It didn't work in any shape or form.
In the way they presented it, too.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe like 1970, whatever. Like, it was just, it wasn't, I don't know if it should have been done at all, but they didn't do it right. I don't know how was the right way to do it, but they didn't do it right.
I don't think there is a right way to do it. I think they honestly just, fucked it up. There's no reason to show it.
Right. Number 1, I bet it's the same for both of us.
It is. Do you want, go ahead, because we both know.
Miz gets locked in his locker room during the show. And he's tweeting it out. I need help, and nobody's going to help him for like 10, 15 minutes.
Nobody saves him. They end up cutting a hole in the door, I believe, to get him out of the fucking locker room.
Should this have been known? No, not at all.
No, but honestly, we've come to an age of WWE and AEW at this point where the backstage is known to the public. Kayfabe has been broken.
Nobody was by this door for minutes, and Miz just could not get out. So he had to go on social media. So somebody else, another wrestler, an EVP or who would, I don't mean not EVP, but an exec backstage, they're like, why the hell is Miz actually tweeting during the show? Oh shit, he's stuck in a fucking room.
And at that point, my question then becomes, why do you not have their phone numbers or somebody, or why is nobody picking up their phone during this whole thing?
Yeah. Random shit.
Random shit.
Whose turn is it?
It's your turn.
Okay. Let's go underrated wrestler of the year.
Okay.
We'll probably follow it with overrated.
Yeah, we might as well. Okay, underrated.
I'll go first.
Do it.
Sheamus is still underrated in everybody's fucking eyes. The shit that he has done this year, I know he's been off a lot this year.
Yeah.
But the triple threat match that he had was unbelievable. Probably stole the show of that PLE.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I don't think he's got a lot of time left. Just throwing that out there before he becomes truly part-time, or maybe he does go to AEW like I predicted last year. Give him his title that he needs and give him one last swan song. He just puts banger after banger out anymore. But he doesn't get the love, I think, because he's been around so long.
Yeah. I think they're trying to force that. It seems like for WrestleMania at this point, right? I don't disagree with that whatsoever. So, my number 3 is actually Xavier Woods. Now, hear me out. This whole New Day thing has been building over the course of the year in a slow progression, right? Kofi and Xavier have done great things in the storyline department to grow this. Xavier is in the ring most weeks, continuously busting his ass and helping continue to build this. He's putting out decent matches left and right. And I think the combination of everything, his acting, everything he's doing, Xavier should be in the conversation for at least a singles title at some point based off of the way he's carrying. He's been carrying a lot of this too.
He has been.
So Twitter, whether it's in the ring or whatnot, this may be more of the promo storyline driven side of the house than it is the action, but Xavier has been underrated for what he's been doing and how he's been carrying this forward and how he made it as impactful with Cody. So I give Xavier a nod.
I give it. I like it, and I give it to him. My number 2, Ludwig Kaiser. Circle around with Sheamus and that. When he was a lackey for the longest time for Gunther, you're like, okay, yeah, he's Gunther's lackey. And I know he still is linked with him, but you see the separation more and more and more. Fuck, he can work in the ring. I've never watched him as Gunther's lackey. I'm like, oh, he's going to take a loss to whomever and not care. Now that he's picked up a couple wins, I'm like, should I circle back and watch some of his losses? I want him completely away from Gunther now. I want him to challenge Gunther now. I want him to be a mid-card champion to see if we sniff it and what he does. Does he maybe need a little bit of a switch in character to not be as general, essentially, with Gunther? Yeah, maybe. But I think he's got so much there that he's ready to maybe be next year's breakout star.
I would agree with that because he's my number 2. There's no disagreement there. Ludwig has done so much good, and they're building that storyline now of Gunther's doubting himself, but Ludwig's getting these wins. That power balance in 2025 is going to start shifting one way or the other, where this forces the issue at some point where these two go head to head and who's the better man. But Ludwig has been killing it, whether it's the triple threats for the Intercontinental titles to the solo Intercontinental title matches. His losses I've been watching, he's not losing them in quick succession. This has been very competitive matches that he ends up losing. So I got to give it to Ludwig on that one for number 2.
Nice. My number 1's people are like, what? I still don't think Swerve gets enough. Even though he was champion, he's going to come back around on this list again that we have during the categories. I just think they're like, okay, we did this with Swerve. I know it might be storyline now, but I'm stuck that I think Swerve, to me, could be, and this running thing that we always have here on Can Crushers, he's there that he could possibly be a Randy Orton for AEW of legendary status. In my eyes, I don't think they give it to him enough, though. He's just, when he's winning, and I'm all right with that. He could lose when he's winning, and it'd be all right, too. But when he's losing, he's fucking losing then. And I understand it's all story, this, that, or the other, but even in losing, you could win something, a fluke or this or that. I just think sometimes he's He's buried a little bit in the shuffle of what's going on in AEW. A la Wardlow that we've brought up for years of being underrated. Poor bastard. That's probably the only time we're going to mention him on the show.
No, that's accurate.
I mean, he's just. I think Swerve is kind of still. People love him for things that we're going to talk about, but then they forget that what he can actually do. Like, take away the spectacles that he does.
Yeah.
He can still wrestle. He can still do this. He can still do that. He's just, now he's with the Hurt Syndicate, or he's going to be fighting Bob, or whatever. And he's not always present.
I agree with that. When he lost to Danielson, it seems like they just said, well, you need to lose a succession of matches to, for some reason, bring yourself back down to earth, right? And that's not what's needed here. He needed to be built up and continue to get these stretches of wins and all of that. I understand you want to wrap up the Hangman storyline in that. That should have lingered longer. It's not going to fully end. Yeah, they got Hangman a win, but maybe the story would have been better if they gave Swerve the win in the Lights Out, and Hangman is more deranged and more pissed and more outlaw, right? It's the same thing when we talk about Bob and the Hurt Syndicate. I think it would have been better if he joined the Hurt Syndicate at this point, and then there's a power struggle within between Bob, MVP, and Shelton versus Swerve, right? And, MVP's brought him in because he's the guy in here. Bob's like, I'm the big bad, da-da-da-da-da. There's a power struggle. That would have been a more telling story than I think what is happening right now. But I get that. I 100% get that. That's not where my number one went, but I'm staying within AEW ROH territory, though.
Okay.
Because my number one, and people may say, this doesn't make any sense. She's a champion. Athena is just left and forgotten in ROH. She's been champion for over a year and a half now. She just beat Billy Starks again, which we're going to go through that. She just kicked Lexi Nair out of the Minions. Athena has done so much for that brand and has done so much to establish dominance within ROH that I think people forget about how good she really is because she's relegated to a internet wrestling show.
Yeah.
As they try to find that ROH deal, TV deal, she's relegated. And I think she gets forgotten about a lot.
She pops up on a Collision or a Rampage twice a year, maybe.
Yeah. And that's it. Quick showcase, how you do. I'm going back here.
Yeah.
Not fair to her.
No.
But
I get it. All right. On to overrated.
Overrated. Number 3, I think might shock a lot of people because I've been in this person's camp before. I'm backing her as a wrestler, as a competitor, but she has just not delivered this year. Maybe it was an injury that derailed her a little bit, whatever it is. Rhea is overrated. See, you thought I was going somewhere else. Rhea Ripley just is not at the same level as she has been this year. And I don't know if it's the whole Liv and Dom storyline has just gone sour and it's made it overrated. I don't know. Rhea, I will say, was borderline, but she seems to be very overrated right now.
Where I thought you were going is my number 3. She's a dual champion, but there's not a storyline for her. I've been in her camp. I am tattooed legit in her other personality camp. And I don't think it's her. I think it is them not giving her something that we can sink our teeth into. One-offs are not going to do it for her. She needs a storyline.
Yeah.
And it's Mercedes.
Yeah. Yeah. She's my number 2. Spoil that right now because you're exactly right. She doesn't have anything to sink her teeth into. Nothing is continuously going forward. And I think the one thing she could sink her teeth into failed miserably at All In.
Yeah.
London. because we haven't seen the counterpart to that pretty much since then. If not, it's one or two one-offs.
Yeah. She's doing DDP yoga right now, trying to get healthy again.
Yeah.
Because she's not.
She was not. I don't think she was healthy
back,
at the, Yeah, I don't think she was healthy at all in. And it has showed.
And we're speaking of Britt, by the way, guys.
We're speaking of Britt. So
she's not on my list, but she's got a hell of a trail to get back to being a pillar again.
Exactly.
If she wants to.
And I think, and it may not be because, it's probably not because of her personally, it's the physical aspect of it. Her body's just has not recovered from anything she's had.
Right.
That delayed her comeback, and I think it's still struggling to keep her going forward.
Agreed. My number 2, until she retires, is going to be Nia Jax. I just don't understand why. It could have been quick. It could have been this. It could have been that. There's been so many other stories. It could have been spun off of her winning the Queen in the championship and get it off of her quickly and let somebody on another list shine. No, we're just lingering. Every moment doesn't need to be a WrestleMania moment, especially on youngsters that will have many.
Yeah.
Listen,
many.
From the chair shots that Max bites me harder to just still rough. I just don't understand. I know the wrestling community doesn't like Nia as well, but I'm saying this towards WWE. Stop. She's way overrated. Jax is not.
She's not your big person in waiting. She's not your monster, if you will.
Yeah.
Like your Vader, your Yoko, your whatever. She's just not that. She's not as talented for that role in that regard.
Even at older age, they move better than she does.
Exactly. And I will say this, it's become pretty apparent we're in a waiting game until the actual Queen shows back up at this point.
Yeah.
So my number 1 continues my second year straight of hatred towards what's happening with this person and their involvement in the ring and what they're trying to do. I don't care how much you're trying to convince me, Mike, or Mark. I don't know, I'm talking third person. I don't care how much you're trying to convince me. I can't get behind the learning tree, and I can't get behind Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho, to me, should never have run with the FTW title, should have never had the months of that painstaking storyline. And really, after that, he shouldn't have been the one. I know they're trying to get the ROH TV deal, and I understand the business aspect of it. He should not have been the one to get the title. Give it to Swerve if you're going to take the world title off of him at that point. It just doesn't. Jericho, to me, I don't understand the obsession, and I know the internet community doesn't either.
Yeah, because he's on my list as number 1 as well. I hampered LA Knight because I hate him so much. But I'm like,
I know you hate him.
He had an R-right year. He had a championship. Whatever. It didn't do anything, but the ROH deal is not going to happen because 90-year-old Chris Jericho has the heavyweight championship right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's not.
It's literally namesake is what they're using it for.
But the wrestling community knows we've seen the namesake. We'll probably have Jericho's name on our show a couple more times. Just leave it at that.
Maybe.
Oh, I'll guarantee it. As we're doing those real quick, no, that was yours. You had to pick overrated on this one. So let's do breakout star and then take a break and do the rest during
we can do that men's and women's.
We can throw another one in there.
Probably. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Men and women's we're doing now.
Oh, I only had breakout star across the board. So you can have both.
I wrote down both. So
it's fine.
I can pick. I'll go back and forth, but go ahead and pick your. Go ahead with yours.
All right, my number 3 goes the Outrunners. because everything we've said previously, they've been up and down. But listen, if you go to an AEW show and prior to them being on TV or whatever, the shit that they do is the same shit that they do in the ring. It's just so much fun. Yeah. Losses, throw them out the window. We've said they probably should have sniffed the titles, even if it had been a day, and then lose it the following day or whatever. They need to capitalize sometimes on just the popularity. I think the Outrunners have been fucking amazing.
I agree with that. They didn't make my list, but I do agree the Outrunners they've lived the gimmick, and it has transpired into something that is magical and makes me want to buy gear for them. So that's exactly what we want to do. So I booked mine out. I'm going to do 3 for men, 3 for women as well. And we'll just do it that way. By men's, number 3, Joe Hendry, the master of marketing at this point. We believe in Joe Hendry. The first half of the year, he pushed himself to the limit. He's had some decent matches on NXT. He's done great things in TNA. I don't know why TNA is refusing to give him the title for some ungodly reason. Ride the fucking wave. That's now probably dead at this point. But Joe Hendry has lifted up for the men's, and I think that pushes him into the top 3 just based on what he did, billboards and all this shit at WrestleMania as well. So my number 3 for the women's, in the international markets may not be much of a breakout star, but I think in the world of the United States and New Japan and all of that, Stephanie Vaquer has really broken out and has transformed the business. It took one match in the U.S. for people to say, holy shit, we need to see her, we need to have her, we need to sign her away from a company, 2 companies. One match has gone a long way, and she's continuously pushed the envelope, and people continuously love to watch her in the ring. So Stephanie's getting my vote for number 3.
Steph got my number 2.
Okay, there you
go. Everything you just said. We're like, Oh my God. So, yeah, I don't have to beat that dead horse.
Yep. Number 2, men's, Kyle Fletcher. The proto-star he's getting on the run now. He's beaten Ospreay. He's done amazing things. Kyle Fletcher is running with it as the men's breakout star at number 2. My number 2 for the women, Queen Aminata has been coming up recently and has been putting on great matches week after week.
This from Indies time.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm loving this character. I love what she's doing with it, how she's wrestling, everything she's doing with it. I got to give the queen her props. The true queen. Not Charlotte, but Queen Aminata, the true queen.
Shame on me for not breaking this down. We probably had this conversation about breaking them down, and
I did have a list on this. Well, I had a list on the side that said men and women's. I'm like, all right, I'll do both. We'll see what happens. But you probably, when we had the conversation, was like, men, women, 1. Right? That's just like, I'll take it apart. But go ahead.
My number 1 was your number 3 for your male. Listen, there was people in the NFL, in soccer, and like Joe Hendry stole the world for 4 to 5 months. Everybody was believing. I still believe. You're completely right. TNA's probably knocked them down a little bit, which makes me, let's talk about predictions in a little bit, thinking something's going to happen. That's why TNA's maybe not giving them as much of a shine, yada, yada, yada. But Joe Hendry stole the fucking world. Well, we sang it for months, Jenks.
Oh, we did, and we're still singing it to this day.
We're still believing. So, Joe, without a doubt.
My number 1, men, Jacob Fatu. He was dominating the Indies, but he came in as a ball of fire and has yet to be put out. In fact, the flames are growing bigger and bigger for him. Jacob Fatu cannot be slowed down. His in-ring awareness, his comprehension of, I need to pretend to be injured if I don't hit this spot, or I need to be injured to pull myself out so that Roman can have his spotlight. In-ring psychology and IQ of wrestling, fantastic. Bailey agrees. So
we talked about that at Christmas. We actually talked about when we went to Buffalo and we saw Jacob get hurt from barely hitting the table.
Yep.
Yeah. He just knows.
He no sells it. He knows. If I botch, just sell the thing. Yep. Sell the hell out of it. My number 1 for women's breakout star of the year, has been somebody that's done a great service to WWE. Whether it's keeping the managers, the GMs on point, the leaders of their show on point, to, becoming a trash person because Mark inspired her to do it, to finally getting over the hump and becoming the first United States women's champion, Chelsea Green.
The only reason why you picked Chelsea is because you wanted to do that.
Well, no. First, yes, I want to do that. No, yeah, I want to do that. But two, her character work this entire year, second to none in the women's division. She has literally carried every show, every segment she's in. People tune in for that. We knew Chelsea was talented before that. I think the entire wrestling community knew that. But the fact that she's getting it shown on WWE TV is giving us hope and thoughts that she's getting over the hump and she's at least getting a Money in the Bank contract next year for it.
I love, Chelsea is a star for me. And I'm not knocking you or anything.
No, yeah, great. I don't disagree.
I've known Chelsea. Yeah, she signed my arm. I've known Chelsea for a long time. When I spoke to Chelsea, it was, you remember when you and Britt had a match that you stole a pretzel from somebody and smashed it in Britt's face? Well, that was Britt's mother that you stole the pretzel from, yada, yada, yada. My son was right there and got a piece of the pretzel. She's magical in the ring. She really is. And she's been since she's been little in wrestling. And I'm glad she finally is getting it on the, listen, she was NWA champion, but again, NWA was just on YouTube at that point. Yeah. Now it's nowhere. I was just now she's getting her shine. Thank you. That was more for me than Chelsea, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I knew it. I had to pander to Mark to make sure that we had something good for this, but yeah.
Nice. All right. Do you want to do one more before break?
Yeah, what one were you thinking?
Well, because I always step away from this one, so this is the Can Crusher Spotlight.
That's fair.
I'll throw this out there. If you didn't listen to the first part, Slammin' Sammy was the most listened to Spotlight of this year. Thea Hale exponentially went above everything. Mariah May was there as well. Dale Hartley was great. I'm throwing names out because I want to give everybody kind of a shout out. Cappuccino Jones was on the show this year. Bashley Bones, JAC, Leah Sparks. We were inter-fucking-national on the spotlights this year, which we are every year, but I just to say words where I could put fuck in once in a while. It was unbelievable. We had the Whoop-Ass crew come on and talk about, their show that they have coming out, their movie. Again, another great year for Spotlight. So, Sir Michael Jenks, I always step away because they're all my babies. They are, and I know it's a shit way to do this. I can't say, hey, man, I really love Ruby Devlin over MIT or da-da-da-da-da. So I step back. When you listened, what did you like? The fans voted, though.
The fans voted. Slammin' Sammy ran away with it, and I have to say, I didn't vote with the fans. Slammin' Sammy didn't make the top three. Not make top three. My number 3, CeCe Young. That was a great interview you had with her. I enjoyed it wholeheartedly. It was fantastic. Number 2, I'm a coffee guy. I like my cold brew. Cold brew, Cappuccino Jones. That was just a cool interview you had. Really on point. I enjoyed everything.
That was right after his first AEW spot, I think.
I thought it was because I remember the timing worked out perfectly for that, and we promoted the hell out of it, first of all. So it was kind of cute. It worked out good.
Sometimes I fall into shit and smell like
Sometimes you are amazing. I mean, that's just the way it needs to be classified. But my number 1 was the almighty EMT Ezra Menagerie Tinker, who just came on and did wonders on the podcast and on that episode. I enjoyed that one wholeheartedly.
I loved EMT. She has become a little bit of my therapist. Might have a kind of crush. Randomly weird. EMTs was great. It really was.
Yeah.
Across the board, though, from Canada to Germany and everywhere in between, I think all the wrestlers that were on the show this year, it was awesome. More to come next year.
Obviously more to come next year, but you did a fantastic job, as always, as the interview host for that. But yeah, those were my top three. So love them. Can't wait for this upcoming year's 2025's. We're not even there yet, but I can't wait for the next year's.
All right, let's take a quick break. We have a lot of hard-hitting categories coming. Your Male of the Year, worst pay-per-view, worst match, this, that, and the other. It's always a long show. We'll be right back after this.
Hey there, it's me, your almighty EMT, Urza Menagerie Tinker, and we love Can Crushers. Thank you so much for always being a Can Crusher fan, because we want to see you in the next episode.
Pop those corks on the champagne. It is time for the home stretch, the last of the Crushies. We're coming down to it. We have storyline, pay-per-view, spectacle, match of the year, men and women, wrestlers of the year. We're on the stretch here. The big ones.
Bold predictions.
And then those bold predictions after all the awards have been given away. Welcome back, Can Crushers Nation. It's the Crushies. We should pick up where we left off.
We should. Where are we picking up, fine sir?
I think we pick up with worst storyline of the year.
We've mentioned him already for my number 3. It's everything with the Learning Tree.
Yeah.
There has been worse for me than the Learning Tree. But the Learning Tree, the whole thing has been god-awful. God-awful. I don't care that there's others saying, oh my God, Jericho can reinvent himself from the Lion King, not Lion King. By the way, new Mufasa yet is out. I can't wait to watch it. From Lionheart to whatever, everything up to Nueve now.
Yeah.
The older stuff is amazing. The mid stuff from the list is spectacular. This last year, this Learning Tree, it's fun when you're there, as I said during the show. When hi guys, everybody was doing hi guys. It's stupid. It's fun to do when you're there. Repetitively, week in and week out, I hate it.
Yeah. He just looks like he's creeping around corners and all that when he's hanging out backstage. But I'm not going to get too much into it because I'll rant later. Spoilers ahead.
Touche.
My number 3. It wasn't that bad of a scenario, but at the same token, it was. I could have had more out of this. The Pride versus Final Testament that culminated in that messy WrestleMania match with Bubba and all of that. It was just boring, to say the least. It did not do Bob justice in what has become his final WrestleMania. Potentially of his career. For now, but for his career, he's almost 50. Not a lot of people realize that or don't clock that every day. But for Bob, that whole storyline was just rough. And I will praise Karrion Kross for long-term stories planning out. But in the short term and entertainment value right up front, it can be a slog. It can be a struggle of sorts. So
that was my number 2.
Okay.
Honest Injun, that was my number 2 because I'm like, man, it's a horrible way for Bob to be going out. He had a little bit longer, but that was a horrible way for him to be going out. The Syndicate has helped him a little bit, so I could have flip-flopped the Learning Tree and this to be 2 and 3 and whatever. So, yeah, Bob just got the win probably because of it was on a higher stage, essentially.
Yeah.
Of just being, oof, that's what you did.
Yeah. No, 100%. My number 2 has been one that they seemingly killed at one point, but then basically shocked it back to life because both guys could work. And now we're seeing maybe the culmination of it coming up tonight as you guys are listening to this podcast. MJF and Adam Cole storyline has been rough since Adam Cole came back, and I have no passion here for it. There's nothing really here. Honestly, MJF coming back hasn't really inspired me too much outside of his return promo kind of being like, hey, I'm here, I'm all in, blah, 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 blah. After the Ospreay stuff, it kind of, even the Ospreay stuff was kind of floundering a little bit. And now it just hasn't gotten straight. And maybe it's because he was filming Happy Gilmore 2, whatever it was. It's not there. And it hasn't hit the mark like it probably should have and what they were planning on it doing. So that would be my number 2.
That lingered. It did. But I think I gave them the benefit of the doubt because they can wrestle and there was injuries and this, that, and the other. So I'm like, I'll keep them off the list. Mine have been things that long-term stories with a group, which will leave me to my number 1. God, I hate the Wyatt Six. It's the worst story. I'm sorry, Bray. We've done a tribute to you, and then this is Loomis. This is this. This is that. They've killed anything that I care about the Wyatt Six.
Yeah, I think they should have just kind of kept the masks on, but then reveal and not really dive into the Wyatts, the motivations too much.
Yeah,
we just let him attack. Yep, let him attack and let him be vicious.
Listen, we knew who the machines were as well, but we let it all go. That one was Andre, one was this, one was that. We were okay knowing, okay, cool. Yeah, that is Loomis. That is Gacy. That is, yeah. Maybe Uncle Howdy's a different reference, but the subs didn't need. And it completely ripped the story away from me to care about them.
Yeah. Uncle Howdy should have been told the way they told it and have the dual personality of Bo. For the others, you're right. You can take the mask off. It can be them. But we don't need explanation around them.
Don't acknowledge that it's them.
Yes, exactly. My number 1 worst, you already know, I've already alluded to it. Jericho can go fuck the learning tree at this point, but the whole FTW title reign, learning tree, whatever you want to throw in there, brutal. Week to week, month to month. Jericho tries, even when he has strong characters to work with, like a Ricky Starks or like an Adam Cole, it doesn't necessarily hit because he can't keep up with them and they can't build a match to suit him so that it looks good. And then when you have guys like Hook who are just starting out that are still green, that are still not there and may never be there, it doesn't work out. And it just was bad. I feel bad for Big Bill and Brian Keith because if they were on their own, I think they'd actually be viable.
Brian Keith was doing amazing things when he just came to AEW. We're like, man, sign him, do something with him when he was, what the hell he was, because he's now.
He was the bounty hunter.
Yeah. I was thinking the Last Outlaw or
the bounty hunter. He probably would have made the breakout star of the year if he had just been left as the bounty hunter, Brian Keith.
Yeah. Sorry, Brian.
Not every opportunity is a good opportunity. I'll throw that out there.
Lay out your opportunities.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're going to transition to best storyline then, right?
Yes, we need to because we got a palate cleanse on that. So, all right, my number 3 on best storyline, I got to give it. The Bloodline has been producing every time. Cody loses the title. Now we have turmoil up until Roman gets there. There's a slow build of Solo, adding Tama, adding Tonga, eliminating a Heyman, Jimmy, whatever it is, building up to Roman. Roman comes back, and then there's a power struggle within the tribe, within the Bloodline. Bloodline saga hits again at number 3.
I think our 3 are going to be the same, maybe in different order. Well, I think our number 1s are exactly right on. I think our 2 and 3 are shifted.
Maybe. We'll see.
My number 3 was CM and Drew. I shit on it a little bit. I don't think it's one of the greatest Hell in a Cell matches out there, but I think it did what it needed to do. I think there's more to come on this as we continue in 25. I really do. It was good. Then I went back and looked at some more of it and just kind of watched and see what was going on. Drew has really stepped up in this. Nothing against Punk, because I love Punk. But Drew has really stepped up and carried most of this.
Right.
So I want to give Drew some comeuppance, essentially. So I got him and CM on this as number 3.
They were my number 2, Punk and Drew. And it was close to number 1, I will say. I flip-flop between them being number 1. Because to your point, Drew has grown so much with this past year and carried this storyline week to week until Punk pops in every month just to fuck with Drew until they could actually have their match.
Yep.
I think the Hell in a Cell, you're right, it wasn't the greatest, but it reestablished the Hell in a Cell should be your end mark for a feud, even if it's for the time being. Because they built up to it, and it made sense for the feud to be a blood feud in the cell. And with the toolbox and everything. So I give them the props at number 2 as well.
My number 2 is the Bloodline for everything you said. There's just still meat and fucking potatoes on that bone. I don't know how you get potatoes on a bone, but we don't need to regurgitate it again. But the Bloodline this can go for a long time, and we have dubbed it probably one of the greatest storylines in professional wrestling as a whole.
Yeah.
It took a little bit of a dip for me this year, but it is still lingering as one of my favorites of all time.
All right. My number 1. And I thought this was tough. I have to go back to AEW, and I have to go Hangman and Swerve ending it. Because, well, maybe not even ending it, but Hangman and Swerve, throughout the course of this year, no matter the injury or time off, whatever it was, the intent was clear. Hangman's intent was clear. It was Swerve. Elimination of Swerve. Blood and cuts, I'm coming after Swerve. AEWLN, Swerve. Swerve is the shot. And until he had that redemption at All Out, he was obsessed with Swerve. It was the only reason he did the Owen tournament, was to get to Swerve.
Yeah. I told you we'd be the same. We'd have the same.
Yeah, I know.
2 and 3 were
you never know.
From everything. And this is going to, for me, I'll tell you right now, I'll spoil it. This is going to come back up. This is going to come back up because it was so emotional. It was so driven. It started last year. Yeah. And it just continued to carry over from when he was stealing the baby to everything Jenks just said. It was hot. And I don't think it's over. I think, that blood and guts match that they had, it paused it, but it really never, it's just on slow motion right now. Because I think they're still going to bring it back around because there's money. There's money there.
Somebody is going to get the world title, and then the other person will come hunting for them immediately.
Yeah.
And I don't know when I just had a bold prediction. I'm going to put it in my bold predictions now. Go ahead.
No, that was my number 1. Now we're shifting to pay-per-views. Worst and bestesses.
All right, worst and bestesses. You want to go first on worst?
I do.
Okay.
I do. Bad Blood for me kind of didn't knock it out of the park. It was good, but there was a lot of, okay, let's just ride this out. We talked about the fans. I want to shout out all the overseas fans this year. They did, when we did our reactions for the show, we were like, my God, the fans here, the fans there, the fans there. Really carried the show.
Yeah.
Go back and you mute it and watch it. I'm like, oh, that's a Raw match, or this is a this match, or this is a this match. Bad Blood was just okay for me. So that's why it's 3.
It's 3 for me, too. And you're right, because the fans didn't show up for it. It was just like, oh, well, this is just a match that they're having right now. Okay. It wasn't there. Once they had the Hell in a Cell match, I think it kind of just killed the vibe.
Done.
It was done. It should have been the main event. You build up. That was your best match on the card. We talked about that in nauseam. It's called Bad Blood. It should have been the burn-off, the final match.
Yeah.
Bloodline get the hot going, but people were there for the Hell in a Cell match, and once they had it, there's no point after it.
My number 2 is Berlin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it didn't resonate for me. I don't know exactly why. It just didn't hit everything for me.
My number 2 was the Elimination Chamber in Australia. After the Women's Chamber match, which we thought was great, it kind of just went downhill. It went off a cliff, basically. The main event was Rhea and Nia. You can only do so much with Nia. We've talked about that already. And Rhea, it was just a homecoming win for her. We knew the end result of that. So it was kind of, and the men's just didn't do anything that was anywhere near extraordinary for me.
The watching it
5 a.m. didn't help on my birthday.
5 a.m.
5 a.m. on my birthday didn't help its cause. But
touche. My number 1, King and Queen of the Ring, was fucking god-awful. I don't need to get into it. It was just horrid.
I chose Crown Jewel. And maybe it's because King and Queen of the Ring, to me, King of the Ring has a special place in my heart. So maybe I gave it the benefit of the doubt.
Does.
So maybe, what cost? You know what I mean? So pick a Saudi show. You could probably slot in the number 1.
Yeah. Any Saudi show.
It was.
I'll step back and say that. Either Saudi show would have number 1.
I agree with that. Any Saudi show, it's number 1. Because they're just there for money.
To get out. How much longer?
How much exactly? Is it 2 years, 1 year? What is it? What is our length on this?
It just doesn't anymore.
It didn't. It didn't be at the beginning.
It didn't before either, because nobody wanted to see
the greatest Royal Rumble. Yeah,
and Shawn.
Yeah, that tag team match.
Goldberg headbutting.
Yeah.
Pay-per-view of the year, though. Let's do it.
All right. My number 3 is actually a number 2. And what I mean by that, it's WrestleMania Night number 2.
Oh, you broke them down.
I broke them down. I was going to put them together, but I truly thought Night 1 was kind of a struggle at some points outside of a certain couple matches to get through. Night 2, I was more invigorated. Maybe it was the Drew Seth starting off fast, Punk causing the cash in. Also, probably could have put in random shit. Drew tweeting while he was working that night. Bored at work, LOL. Could have put that in there for random shit. But I think it started fast, went down with pride in Final Testament, but then picked right back up afterwards and kind of ran forward. So for me, I picked night number 2 for WrestleMania 40.
So spoiler, night number 1 is not on your list.
Hella not on my list.
Hella not on your list. My number 3 was Dynasty. Dynasty was good. It was heavy on matches that we really wanted to see. I loved it. Matches that were just TV matches seemed to be longer than the matches that we liked. That's what dropped for me. And it was back when AEW slimmed down a little bit. They've cut maybe an hour out of an 8-hour fucking pay-per-view.
Yeah.
This was a long-ass pay-per-view.
Agreed. It was 4 for me. It was flirting with the line, but I kind of put WrestleMania in there because you end the night on the Cody winning, finishing the story. That kind of takes precedence and all that bullshit that came along with that. So, my number 2 was Revolution from earlier that year. You had Ospreay Takeshita. You had a lot of great matches. I think Kingston Danielson happened on that night. There's a lot of great matches that occurred. It didn't top my number 1, but I loved Revolution enough to say that was my number 2 pay-per-view of the year.
Revolution was probably my 4.
Okay. That's fair.
My number 2 was, when my phone just went out, was All In. I loved All In. It did what it needed to. It is AEW's WrestleMania, essentially. I know we always say maybe it's double or nothing. I think All In has proceeded to be it anymore. Yeah. That's where they're going to put their money in. The matches, the flow was just there for me.
That's fair. My number 1 was All Out. The week later pay-per-view. We had Danielson and Perry, Danielson getting potentially murdered at that point. We had Hangman and Swerve, obviously, in the Lights Out cage. We started the night, MJF and Danny Garcia, which was actually a very good match. Willow and Chris in that street fight. Yep. There's so many great matches on there that I didn't think there was a down moment. Even Sheeta and Mercedes, they were laying in some shots, and it looked real.
It was real.
It was real. They were fighting each other. So It was a great night for professional wrestling, so I enjoyed that one.
I'm a homer because there was stories and stories and stories to be told. And I love stories. I am the guy that professional wrestling is a man's soap opera. Essentially, this WrestleMania was filled with everything. Yeah. From spectacles to non-spectacles to matches to this to that we can completely just rip apart. I really think, and you've seen it across the board, I think, Jenks, WWE did it right all year. And it really started with the ending of last year, the beginning of this year at WrestleMania. Night 1 was but it did deliver for night 2. So WrestleMania is my number 1 this year.
That's fair. That's a good number 1. All right. We're ready. We got to do worst match of the year, I think, here. We've got
I thought we were doing spectacle first.
You want to do... I didn't write down worst, so I didn't know where we were putting it. But, all right, spectacle match of the year.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
I'll go first.
You go first.
Sting's retirement match hit. It is, with his sons being out there in retiring the tag titles essentially right after. I might have poo-pooed on it when it was happening, but listen, Sting, my childhood, I had to rip it back around to it was a spectacle. It was something that maybe in a year or two I go back and I'm like, yeah, well, let's watch it one more time.
Yeah.
So.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. I did not have the nostalgia trip this year, so Sting did not make my top 3. Number 3 for me was Anarchy in the Arena because people lit on fire. There's shit going on over here. Darby's hanging like a piñata. It was all over the place, chaotic. Anarchy makes my list pretty much every year because it's just anarchy. And you never know what to predict. So Anarchy's number 3.
My number 2, still because of the feels, the story was creating another chapter. Cody and Roman. That was more, everybody in God's country returned. So that's why it's not like match of the year. Everybody was involved. It was a spectacle. It was what everybody has been waiting for since the year before. It's number 2 for me.
That's fair. There was a lot going on in that match. I loved it. Way too much. It was very convoluted. But it made you feel good. And it took you out. That did not make my list, though. My number 2, I did go Punk and Drew in Hell in a Cell because it sold the rivalry, it reestablished what Hell in a Cell can be going forward, and it made it dangerous again. It reestablished a match type that had been long suffering from boring no DQ matches happening in a small confined space. And we brought back the steel coloring to the fucking Hell in a Cell, and it's not blood red bullshit. So I think, for me, Drew and Punk, Hell in a Cell.
Number 1's probably going to be the same for us. Just saying.
Probably. Yeah, probably.
Or Hangman in fucking needles out. And everything and lights out.
Needles, cinder blocks, the chair gunshot heard around the world.
Yeah. Listen, if you want to watch one spectacle of the year, rewatch it. Watch it on Thriller, Max, wherever you're going to be watching anything from the library. I don't think we did justice going over the match then. We can't do justice again. It was just, again, ebbs and flows during the match of just
scene after scene after scene. It jumps from one moment to the next moment to the next to the next. There is no justice that can be done for that match. Watch it. Just fucking watch it.
Let's get dirty again.
Let's do it.
Worst match of the year. There's a litany of them. This was so hard.
This was not a great year for matches. I had one I think might surprise you, but number 3 for me, Pride and Last Testament at WrestleMania was just god-awful. So that was my number 3. We already talked about it a little bit earlier with that one storyline. So
you're going to love that your favorite person makes my list twice, by the way.
God, not this person.
Jericho Hook It All In was brutal.
That was really bad. Yeah.
So I don't know if you had horses on these, but it was just brutal.
It was brutal bad. It was so bad that I didn't want to put Jericho on my list again because I didn't want to see his name and his face. That's where that came. I didn't put him on there. I took another match from All In. You may not like this. The fans may not like this. But this person was on my overrated list.
This is your number 2, right?
This is my number 2. Monet and Britt at All In underdelivered and was just bad.
Yeah.
And I don't know, we talked about, we don't know if there was injuries concerned, whatever the hell it was. It just was a bad match. No chemistry, nothing worked for them.
No major build-up, but on X from years ago.
Yeah, nothing built up on that. They called each other bitch a couple times in the ring, couple interactions, nothing brought it to the forefront. And just wasn't there for me.
My number 2 was on a preview show. It was the big Costco fucking idiots against QC.
The Rizzler? You don't like the Rizzler?
Enough said on that.
Ooh, that kid apparently doesn't go to school because he ended up on Fox and Family. I saw earlier this week. I don't know why.
Good for him.
Yeah, I don't fucking... Ugh. Anyways, there's a lot packed in there. But my number 1... WrestleMania 40 Night 1 was not good to me. And Jimmy and Jay were not good to all of us. So the Usos brother versus brother match had potential, but it just did not hit the mark. Super Kick Party, ugh.
It was a close 3, making it, because these other ones have just been putrid to me. Number 1 has been number 1 all year for me. All year. It was the 8-man fucking tag match between Team Jericho and Team Callis at World's End. That's how far. It's been waiting since last year at this time to make it back. It was nothing but trash. There was not a match. Even Jimmy and Jay, I'm like, man, this is fucking horrible, but it can't top what I just saw during a pay-per-view.
That's fair. That is fair. I think I blocked out that match, to be honest.
You should have.
Yeah.
Don't go watch it. I brought it up. Hopefully we don't bring anything back from World's End this year. Yeah.
The only thing we should be bringing back from World's End this year should be a match of the year candidate.
I agree.
Somewhere. Don't make us bring a worst match or a worst pay-per-view back with us.
A year. It's that on the list, Jenks.
And it didn't get
And there had been
number
so
one.
many that could have been.
Yeah.
Let's go to best match of the year.
All right. Yeah. We have men or women.
It doesn't matter. Well, you know what? Let's give the women a shout out last this time. So let's do the men right now.
That works for me. All right. Okay.
Because mine are littered with one person.
So are mine.
The opponent.
I pick or choose opponents at this point.
Right.
Okay. 3 for me was triple threat to catch that Ospreay Ricochet at Wrestle Dream.
Okay. I have 6 listed because I couldn't decide which non-Ospreay match
That's the twos.
I wanted to take off. So since you gave him props, I'll go all out Ospreay and Pac.
Okay. That's a good one.
That's a good one. But there's 2 others that I just, okay.
What are okay, so you had 6, so there's 2 others that didn't make the list that you want to shout out?
Well, I have Ospreay, Ricochet, and Takeshita as well.
Okay.
Then I have Ospreay and Pac.
Right. Okay.
We'll wait, because the other ones are a little bit higher.
Okay. Number 2 for me was Ospreay Takeshita from Revolution.
It's on the list as well.
I figured. All right.
I have to throw in, because I liked it at 250, I liked MJF and Ospreay.
It was good. Was it?
I can't not give Ospreay everything. There's one non-Ospreay match on this match.
Yeah.
We say that one because our number ones are probably.
I think the number one's probably the same. I want to, before you say the non-Ospreay, the MJF one, is it the all-in match or the 59 minutes, 58 second match on Dynamite? That one.
Yeah,
the hour.
It was from 250.
Yeah, that one was fucking phenomenal.
Yeah. That one from 250.
Yeah.
My non-Ospreay match is Swerve and Danielson because of the dad moments, the feels.
Bailey agrees.
It could have been in spectacle because of what they did for it, essentially.
Yeah.
But it was a cleaner match than everybody and their fucking brother coming out.
Yes. Yeah.
So I wanted to give that one a shout out.
Okay.
I had Revolution as well on there as well.
Mm-hmm.
We're both at number 1, right?
We're both at number 1. If it's not Ospreay and Danielson at Dynasty, I don't know if you were watching some. Yeah, I have no idea what anybody's talking about. The end sequence alone, Hidden Blade versus the knee, tying back to Danielson saying he doesn't want to go back and forth with Ospreay because he knows he'll lose.
Right.
And he ends up going right at Ospreay at the same time, and he lost. It was a chef's kiss. Beautiful. It was a 7-star match, whatever you want to call it, but it was fantastic.
Spray heavy this year, guys. Realize that. Spoiler.
Yeah.
Let's go to the women. You can go first when I delete stuff.
Okay. All right.
I'm keeping my categories clean for next year so I can restart as of tonight.
I threw it in an Excel so I can copy and paste it and just delete and move on. All right. Women's match of the year. My number 3 is Bayley and Io from WrestleMania Night 2. I thought that was a fantastic way. Bayley getting her props after all this time, getting the WrestleMania win. She got the Rumble earlier in the year. Now she's got the WrestleMania win. It was beautifully done to get her to that point, and they actually wrestled a very good match between both of them. So I thought the light shined bright on Io and Bayley for that one.
More on Io.
Yes.
2025.
Yep.
Pay attention to that.
That's fair.
Because it's TNA. I loved it. Jordan and Masha at Bound for Glory was unbelievable. I told you during that when we ran over it real quick how awesome it was. I always put it that, and I shouldn't, because they can win Match of the Year without the people, but I think a lot of people didn't see it. So
Yeah.
I always bring it, but Jordan and Masha at Bound for Glory was unbelievable.
That's, the hype around that one alone, not even from you, but the community as a whole.
Yeah.
It was a very good match. Very good match. My number 2, I could have made it a spectacle, but at the same token, I thought it was deserving to stand as a women's match of the year candidate as well. Stat and Willow in that street fight at All Out was some of the best character work, best work that I've seen in a long time. They put their bodies on the limit, took their bodies to the limit, put everything on the line. I thought that was just one of the best women's matches all year.
That was 4 for me.
That's
maybe
fair.
because I was thinking about it could have been in the spectacle realm of it, but it was just crazy unbelievable.
Yeah.
My number 2 goes to Becky and Rhea, honestly. I really did like it. It was not the passing of the torch because Rhea had that earlier last year, but it was still prior to all the Liv stuff and the Becky stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't sure, and Becky just is always in there. So that was pretty solid for me.
That's fair. My number 1, we may have the same match. I don't know if we do. But my number 1, I may have called her overrated, but there's another woman involved in this match that broke through because of this match, and it was just so damn good with no build whatsoever. Stephanie Vercur and Mercedes Moné at Forbidden Door blew the roof off the place, stole the show. It was the best women's match all year round from my perspective.
I have a tie at number 1.
Okay.
For what you just said. For match, because there was no build up, because I couldn't separate. There was match quality of Steph and Monet.
Yeah.
But the story of Tony and Mariah, I could not separate because it was so good. Was the match a 5-star match? No, but the story was a 10-star fucking story.
Yeah, that's fair.
I couldn't separate those two because I'm like, oh man, I don't want to drop any of the others off because they get their props, they get everything. So Tony and Mariah, where the hell was it all in?
Yep.
And then Steph and Monet for what you said.
Yeah, 100%.
Best men's.
Right. Yeah, best men's match. Here we go.
Oh, no, we did that.
Oh, we did that. We did women's. We did spectacle. I think we're on
Wrestler of the Year?
Yeah, we're on Wrestler of the Year.
Oh, man. All right.
Men or women?
Let's go women first this time since we were just bouncing off of women right now.
That's fair.
I'll start.
Go for it.
My number 3?
Yeah.
Roxanne Perez. What she has done.
Okay.
Done in NXT. And I think maybe a spoiler, maybe not in bold predictions, that call-up's coming sooner than later.
Yeah.
And I think she, maybe not big picture, but she makes noise on the roster this year. I mean, lots of noise. Maybe with like one of those mid-cards to get the touchy-feelies to see how she's going to carry over easily.
Yeah.
But Roxanne is carried until, I mean, there's so many players now in NXT. Nothing again. They need to shuffle her out and let the others fucking cook. Because they're going to.
Oh, 100%.
Roxanne, number 3.
My number 3 was Mariah May for the character work she had in the latter half of this year. I think when you look at the build-up, first half of the year, Tony's lackey, but slowly, nothing was really showing, but we knew it was coming. And then when she wins the Owen Cup, bow, just out of bloodshed, viciousness, disgusting behavior, it all came into her head at once, and I think Mariah's taken it and just run with it, and has embraced this vicious champion that she is, vicious, conniving, manipulative champion that she is. Mariah May has done wonders for them.
And that's why she's my number 2. Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly. The first half was just lackey, but then what you just said, bam, and ran with it. We'll be talking about Mariah in 25 as well.
We 100% will be.
Go ahead.
We 100% will be. Funny story, my number 2 is Roxanne Perez. For what you said, I will also add the caveat of NXT added an entire 5 women to replace Roxanne next year. That may sound bold and all of that stuff, but I truly believe the talent that they brought in was because they knew they were losing it with Roxanne, because Roxanne held that women's division together.
Mariah got two because she's been on the show. That's why she's above Roxanne. But you're right.
That's fair. Yeah. No, that's fair. So, nothing more on Roxanne. Our number one. I think has to be the timeless one, Toni Storm.
Now the forgotten one.
Now the forgotten amnesia patient one. Toni Storm. She's reinventing herself. The timeless gimmick, we thought this can't work. And it just continuously got better and better and better and better. Tips out, watch for the shoe. She got cracked with the shoe that whole next month or so going after Mariah. She disappears, goes to Japan, seemingly retires.
Yeah.
And then comes back as a rookie.
And AEW
gets cheap win over Taya with a roll-up. She's visiting the Hammerstein Ballroom, the Stein.
Debuts on Collision.
Debuts on Collision. Not even show. Debuts on Collision. She's working her way back up the company ladder, as you will. Whatever the case may be, perfect.
Yeah. I could not said it any better. But I can go to the men.
We better go to the men. All right. We got number 3.
Gunther. Gunther's, from everything he's done, from even, losing the IC title, him and Sammy put on a fucking barn burner there, to capturing the King of the Ring, to the main title, to losing a little bit this year, I think is just only going to put a skyrocket on his ass for years to come. It's already on, but it's just even more.
Even more. Gunther was on my list at 4. Everything you just said. My number 3, we talked about it during promos of the year. We've you could call him underrated, but man, Kevin Owens has driven everything he's touched forward, whether it's bloodline related, the whole United States title chase before leading up to WrestleMania, to now going against Cody, going against whoever has sympathized with the bloodline. Sammy is still on the horizon somewhere, somehow, that Kevin is going to go after him. Always. Kevin Owens has driven this company forward with the subtitle, basically, storyline. So I got to give Kevin Owens props here with that.
Touché. I love it. I'm glad somebody did. My number 2, Danielson. Danielson just had, it was a shortened year, whatever. A ton of matches to little to no matches to the big win to the losses, but it was just, when he wrestled, you watched.
Yep.
Because you didn't know. A la injury, a la retirement, a la family. He probably had one of the best years of his life, in my book.
Probably in his book, too, because he fought a lot of heroes. He wrestled a lot of people that he wanted to work with. This was his year, truly. My number 2, though, is the man he took the title off of at All In, Swerve Strickland. Swerve has carried AEW on his back. Whether you believe it or not, through the dark times of what the booking has done to talent over this past year, Swerve has been there. He's been the world champion. People have clamored for him. Whoever he's faced, he has at least put on a decent, very good match with them. Whether it be Christian, Joe, Ospreay and him had a fantastic match at Forbidden Door that we don't talk about. There's just match after match, and there's a reason he was tasked with facing Bob right out the gate in his first match here. It's because they trust him, and Bob is the biggest player they have brought in to date. Yeah. You can argue Danielson, you can argue whoever you want. Bobby Lashley, name recognition wise, has been one of the bigger names they brought in, if not the biggest. They put Swerve in that position for a reason, because they knew he would make Bob look good, and he would help build the Hurt Syndicate into being something more.
Yep.
So to me, Swerve is that hand that you always have on task, and we didn't even talk about the Hangman stuff because we've already talked about it in promo, and we talked about it over the course of the storyline. Swerve has carried the company and has been one of the best in the company.
I like that. Our number one's the same. I don't care what anybody says. I know this for a fact.
The match of the year probably gave that away.
Right. It's Ospreay just because
100%.
You couldn't pick a match for match of the year. All 6 that I had, 5 of the 6 that I had listed could have been match of the year.
100%. Oh, 100%. But each time he just kept trying to top himself one by one by one. One we didn't even mention was on Dynamite just a couple weeks ago. Ospreay and Darby Allin blew the top off Dynamite. The sequence alone with the Code Red, mind-blowing.
The Ospreay Ricochet match prior to the pay-per-view one that I saw in Buffalo.
Oh, yeah.
Was unbelievable, too.
Yeah.
Then it was just where Takeshi actually came back and jumped both of them.
Mm-hmm.
It was probably the best TV match of the year if we want to break it down like that. Ospreay is just on another level across the world.
Yep. 100%. There's nobody touching him. Nobody's touching him.
Not anytime soon. Barring anything that I don't even want to jinx. Injury.
There you go. Yeah.
All right, Jenks. Great lists from both of us. I love them. We got together. There was times that we were apart. We got together. We understand wrestling again.
We have. It's bold prediction time.
This is where we don't understand wrestling.
We show our lack of knowledge. As we've been talking, there have been a couple that have come to me that I know we talked a little bit ahead of time. We just know that we had a certain number.
Yeah, that's all right.
But no, here it is. I have 7 now, and I know you have 7, if I'm correct.
About, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll make this work. We got this. Okay.
Yeah, I got 7.
All right, there we go. We'll just rattle back and forth. Who wants to go first? You?
I will.
All right.
ROH gets back to their roots. Cole, Samoa Joe, they'll run the show once we get out of this Jericho thing. I don't know if they get said TV deal, but I think after we get through this World's End, you might see a Joe come back. You get Cole back down there. You could drop Roddy in there to get back to I know they still have the indie feel, but when you think of ROH, it's Danielson, it's Cole, it's the Kingdom. I think we get rid of the Jericho, the bigger names. I think Athena runs even more with this. I think you're going to see Billy get a hell of a push this year. I think Tony just needs to leave ROH alone and let them do. I know it's his, but let Cole, Joe, those people say, can we try this year? And I bet you get more watches. And then that helps them get back to where they were.
I could see that happening. I would say even when Danielson is ready to go, give him head booker and let him run with ROH, because that would be what pushes it forward. And that's probably why we're seeing Jericho with the title right now, is this is coming back to Joe. Yeah. They're bringing the world title to Joe at some point. So that's a fair one. We shit on the tag division this year.
We sure did.
I will say the WWE tag team division will be one of the hottest parts of the show next year, is my bold prediction. Motor City Machine Guns, DIY's heel work right now is untouchable. War Raiders back to their roots. We are getting teams back to where they used to be. New Day getting the heel turn of the century at this point. Tag teams are becoming very storyline heavy, very driven, very much way they should have been built beforehand. We're getting back to a tag team renaissance, and I think 2025 is the kickoff for that.
I'll stay with tag teams then.
Do it.
Is during the year, I don't know when, but during the year, there's going to be a photo opportunity for a tag team in AEW. Maybe 3 seconds, maybe 5 seconds. Edge and Christian wrap back around by the end of the year. Copeland and
yeah.
They
Maybe.
want to.
They do want to. The patriarchy is going to be the difficult.
Well, I think we have a year.
We have a year. That's fair.
We can blow. Tony can blow through this in a month, but it doesn't need to be.
Right.
I know
Slow build.
Christian still has his contract or whatever. We'll see. I think we're going to get a photo opportunity and tag champs. At some point, it could just be a sniff, and then they get jumped or something. I see them as a team by the end of the year.
Okay. My number 2 is AEW reestablishes itself as a brand, as an alternative to WWE. And Mark, I'm going to play off of what you said earlier about ROH being separate. Tony can focus on one show. ROH goes back to its roots. If ROH goes back to its roots, let's say they put somebody in charge and let them run with it, Tony Khan can then sit and focus on one show and make something happen with one show. Your players are there. The tokens you need to move forward on the board are there. Let's take the ideas. Let's funnel them. Let's be creative with it. And let's give direction where direction's due. Timeless Tony can run with things because she knows how to make this work, drive things forward. I think Ospreay can do it. I think Callis has good ideas to make it move forward. Sit down, let it drive forward, and just give the direction. The talent will come behind you and reestablish the brand's image as that alternative to WWE.
To piggyback yours, maybe a shot. I think Shane is part of that. Everybody was like, oh, Shane McMahon. The picture of him in the box were for something. Yeah. Again, there's injuries. Kenny wasn't ready to come back. It was a play because maybe he's elite. I don't know. It's a stretch. He could help Tony do things because he knows. Maybe he could trickle to ROH to see how he goes for a while or this or that. He could be that a la figurehead. But to get him here, I think he's behind the Death Riders. I think the whole picture of him in the box were, let's just put this out there. Remember, BCC started with William Regal and these guys. I know the Death Riders are on a different level now, but wouldn't it just be if the pictures of him, Shane McMahon, and the Bucks were a farce to say, oh, he's going to be elite when he gets here. He's going to be elite when he gets here. I still think there's something to do with that. It wasn't, hey, let's take a picture at the Dallas airport or whatever. They leaked it for a reason. I really do.
I would agree with that. I would think going off of that point, though, I still think the elite is behind the Death Riders, and I think but they lost control of them.
Right.
And so to your point, Shane McMahon coming in and saying this is a good idea, you should do this, and then it loses control. Maybe it brings Shane back, or maybe Shane was working behind the Bucks back, to your point, playing off of that a little bit more. Remember, the pay-per-view tonight, when you guys are listening to this, is called World's End. The world's going to end if Shane McMahon walks through the fucking door of an AEW show.
Right. Exactly.
So
I just think, and I think that helps Tony behind the scene even more. That's why you were going with that, and I'm like, well, this is the perfect time to throw Shane out.
You got to bring it in. Yeah, got to bring it in. I'm going to go a little bit behind the scenes, but I think it's going to happen. I don't think Mercedes Moné goes 3 years in her contract, and I think there's a buyout at some point. She gets released and goes back to WWE. This upcoming year, I just don't see, it's not working out. They're going to try multiple things. They'll probably give her a world title run, But even then, that world title run's not going to come until whenever this Tony Mariah situation comes about and ends.
Right.
So I think for Mercedes, you're playing second fiddle to people that were to one person that was technically below you in line in WWE, starts to wear on you a little bit and hits that ego a little bit differently. So I think that's the release is going to happen by year's end.
Okay. I have, before I get to some random ones, AJ Styles. Contract's got to be close. I think he does make the jump by the end of the year to AEW. Part-time, he still wants to do this, but he still wants to hang out with the family. Mm-hmm. Kind of like what Copeland did. Then you can get the high flyers. Because Edge, Copeland, did like the big guy stuff.
Yeah.
AJ coming in, he gives Darby some cool stuff to do. He gives, the Ricochet some cool stuff to do.
Ospreay, AJ.
Ospreay.
I mean, that's a valid point. The one thing I always take into account, though, is the last contract he was going to sign was that WWE one he signed 3 years ago. So but minds change all the time. So you never know. Well, money can change a mind very quickly. So, we're on contracts. I'm going to throw this out there. I'm not sure. We talked about the signing recently. I am very much not optimistic that the Tessa Blanchard deal is going to work out in TNA. I don't think this is going to go the way they think it's going to go.
Okay.
You've already had negative reaction to it from the online community, and online community is the online community, and we're pundits and we're talking heads at this point. But when I look at what she has done and how bad the locker room, the people that used to be in that locker room feel about it, there's a lot to be said there.
Yeah.
So
does it take Tessa blatantly do an interview with us, Sean Ross, somebody go on Busted Open and say, listen, I'm a degenerate, I did this, this, and this. Does it really take her like a good thing to get wishes?
I think for her, she's talked at some length about what had happened but never took full ownership from a lot of people. And I think that's what's rubbing a lot of people the wrong way. For me, it's more of, I'm coming at it from a fan's perspective of this didn't work out the first time. We got held up the title. You have a bad look on your face just from how you handled walking out with the world title as the first women's male heavyweight champion. What you did was not great from for your public image. From the wrestlers and talent standpoint, she treated them like shit. And we're not really getting acceptance from that. So unless personality has changed, I think it's going to be a messy end.
I could see both ways.
Yeah. Hoping for the best, but
hope for the best. I have Ricky Starks and Wardlow showing up in WWE this year.
Yeah. I mean,
crushing it as they get there. Because Trips knows what he's with them already.
The writing's on the wall. Wardlow, you're getting a freak of nature. Starks, you're getting one of the most charismatic people you could have ever imagined.
Yeah. Throw in, but since I actually had 8, by the way. So throw in Jericho back to WWE by late year as well.
Oh, okay. That's fair. That's fair.
AEW.
I could see it. I think he'll leave, get the Hall of Fame induction somehow, some way, and then come back or something. He'll find a way back.
Yeah.
He needs to get that ego stroke of the Hall of Fame induction, so he's got to get in good graces with that.
For the following,
for 2025, for 26, he gets into the Hall of Fame. He's got to get good graces with that. So,
thus, by the end of this year, he's back in WWE, gets a stroke, and then who the hell knows? Yeah,
who the hell? He's going to not care after that. This one's not really a bold prediction, but I'll just say it anyways. Big E's cleared for action, and he's coming for the Kofi and Xavier at Rumble. It just depends on the timing of things. I think it's the Mania match. Against who, I don't know, but I think that's your Mania match for the New Day, as it's Big E versus them.
I would agree. We're going to be on matches now, so I have to do this one. I have to do this one now. John Cena wins the Royal Rumble, loses at Mania, wins the title somehow at SummerSlam, and the dirtiest fucking player in the game cashes in on him to get more heat to carry his persona forward. Cena gets his championship at Slam that same night. Dirty Dom cashes in to get his title.
Nuclear fucking wasteland. Heat. I just got 8 because I wanted to make this one and I remembered it now. I'm going to counter that. Dom Mysterio is going to be a face by the end of the year of 2025. The cracks have already started showing here. When he said to the New Day, I would have never did that, and he got a pop out of the crowd, he has already said his line in the sand that he's not going to turn on his friend and leave him high and dry. He's getting good will and wishes by certain little actions in that. Dom's going to be cheered. He's already cheered. He's booed relentlessly, but people love him. I think there's a face turn for Dom, but it's more of an anti-hero type. I'm just
After
the guy.
Cena.
Maybe.
After he catches it on Cena, people go ape shit crazy, and no matter what Dom does, he turns into Stone Cold.
Exactly. Dom is on another level right now.
Yeah. I completely agree with that. How many more do you have?
Well, technically I have 2 because I just added that one. So let me do one of mine right now because we were alternating. How many do you have?
I have 1 left.
You have 1 left? Okay, let me do one more. We talked matches. I'll throw this match in there. I think Hangman and Swerve is the main event of All In Texas, and it's for the World Heavyweight Championship. I think everybody's looking at Ospreay. They're looking at Mox, people like that. I believe Swerve is from Texas. Hangman is a cowboy.
He is.
From Virginia. From fucking Virginia, but he's a cowboy nonetheless. This is picturesque writing on the wall. We said it's going to come back and rear its ugly head. One of them's going to get the world title, and then the other one's going to be immediately on his ass, ready to take it away from him. So this, to me, is the main event of All In Texas, is Swerve and Hangman.
Mine last one is generic, but let me explain. We have a surprise winner for the Women's Royal Rumble. It's not Becky. It's not Charlotte. It's nobody that's going to return a la Alexa or Carmella or anybody like that, Asuka that we're looking at soon too. I think we have maybe somebody that pops up. I made reference to her already from NXT. I think it's Roxanne. To give her that freaking shot. I mean, again, she doesn't need a shot in the ass. She's unbelievable. But I think I'm saying Roxanne, but I think it's going to be somebody because, Jenks, we have Mania matches possibly already set, right? Do we carry, I think the women's division in WWE is going to be flipped a little bit and be chaotic this year.
Yeah.
In a good way. And I think it starts at Rumble with somebody that is not on the freaking atmosphere that we would pick as a lock right now to win.
Right.
Roxanne's been in it a couple times. She had some nice showings, yada, yada, yada. I don't know. I just think it's somebody random. Maybe an NXT person. They might not win the title at Rumble, or at Mania. But how about a Steph? How about somebody like that? Because then That's accolades down in NXT. Not that they need accolades, but still, it's something NXT can hang their hat on, that we have winners in the Rumble as well. And I think the women's is a perfect spot because you have Steph, you have they could do it and make sense.
I mean, that's 100% accurate. There's going to be a logjam at the top of the women's division. That's why I made the comment of they brought in all those women to replace Roxanne. Roxanne is their bread and butter right now, the women's division down there. So for her to run away with a Rumble win right out the gate, instantly shakes up everything to its core. And honestly, there's nobody else that could win the Rumble for the women that I think anybody would want to win the Rumble for the women. If Charlotte comes back and wins it, boring. Nobody wants that. You know, if Rhea wins it again, nobody wants that. Nobody wants Bayley won it once. Great. You're not going to win it again. Becky comes back, wins it. Okay, well, cool. Becky's back, but nobody wants Becky to win it.
Right. And they don't need to win it. I don't mean to mean, but nobody you just mentioned needs to win it for a title shot.
Bianca doesn't need to win it. The only person that could come back and win it, Jade. But even then, I don't think she's to that. No, she's not there yet. So Roxanne could be that dark horse. All right, my last one is pretty generic, but I'm going to predict it now because he's done it this year and he will continue to do it next year. Will Ospreay is the male wrestler of the year, bar none. Next year, call it, write it in.
It is generic.
He's going to tear his ACL or something, knock on wood, and he doesn't happen. But Ospreay, male wrestler of the year next year.
Yeah, he's been 3 years in a row running for you now.
He has been, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way it is.
It is. Another year of wrestling in the books, Sir Michael Jenks.
Another year?
Unbelievable. I don't know. I always get baffled at the end of the year show, again, for everything that we mentioned in segment 1, 2.5 hours ago, about how you guys love us, how you continue to come back, how you listen, the spotlights we get from all over the world, the camaraderie that we have to get down to personal level and everything. It just means so much to me. It really does. So I thank each and every one of you listening. I thank you, Sir Michael Jenks. I thank everybody in the past that's ever been on the show, this, that, or the other. For me, this is just so humbling. There's no other way of putting it. Thank you for listening to this garbage podcast, essentially, that you guys love.
It was a simple concept from a garbage man, and it has become millions of listens. The millions and millions. Thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, Mark, for bringing me along for the ride. Non-garbage man like myself bringing me to this.
You take your garbage out the curb. So
I do. Yeah, that works. But thank you. Thank you guys. And season 9 may be off the chain. We'll see.
Maybe worse than season 8. We don't know.
We'll see. Play by ear.
Week by week. Guys, thanks. Join us on all socials and all of that. We love you. Buy the stuff that helps promote us, and that's awesome. But remember, just because you're trash doesn't mean you can't do great things.
Your garbage can, not a garbage cannot. Make sure you tell your loved ones that you love them.
Because you never know.